But we're here with Shawn Murray, the Diamond Boy.
It is
Where'd that name come from? Diamond Boy.
Diamond Boy is just a dumb nickname that stuck. Because when I started comedy, I was 18 and I was about to turn 19. And everybody I was doing comedy with at the time was much older than me.
Yeah.
And when I started, I was pretty good. I was pretty good for like looking back, I was terrible. But like
being fresh out of high school.
To have just started, I was like pretty good.
Where'd you start? You started at Jokers?
Yeah, I started at Jokers in Manhattan.
Okay.
So I was like a lot younger than everyone around me. So like they used to, they were like, "Oh, you're a prodigy," or whatever. And then I was saying like, "Oh, I'm the golden child," just as a joke. But then I think it was Staj. Have you met Staj?
Yep.
Yeah. I think it was Staj was like jokingly like making fun of me or whatever. He's like, you think you're some fucking they're making fun of the fact that I was calling myself a golden child, and they was like, "Oh, the fucking Diamond Boy" or something like that, and I was like, "Diamond Boy is actually pretty good."
That's actually fun.
So then, but I wasn't calling myself that. I would always I would say that to like Stash would say that, or like the comic that used to do comedy doesn't do anymore, but it's comic Matt Wally. They would call me that like jokingly, and then they would say it on Facebook a couple times, and then I was like, I would just run with it. But again, I would call myself that just completely sarcastic, to them. I'm like, it's me, the Diamond Boy, whatever. And then people,
the chosen one.
Yeah, exactly. And then other comics would see that, and they were like a couple comics would like bring me up on stage as that, and I'm like, oh, that wasn't like what my intention was.
But that was the thing.
But that's the thing. I was like,
And now you take it. Now you are the boy of diamonds.
So yeah, it's a joke gone too far.
Hey. It gave you a great name, though. If you're going to be called anything, right? I think Diamond Boy.
I think Diamond Boy is great.
It's one of the better things.
It's also funny to say I don't wear diamonds. I don't even like.
Yeah. When I first heard Diamond Boy's coming, I'm like, oh wow! I expected somebody to come.
Yeah, just the flossiest motherfucker.
And I'm like, wow, this is.
I'm the most stripped down person. Yeah,
there's not a diamond there.
Not even a rhinestone. Like there's no
gem.
Yeah, no jewels whatsoever. This is a fucking Casio watch.
Oh, you gotta get the ones with the calculator.
You know what? it was actually Dame. You know Dame FK?
Yep.
He had the golden one with the calculator.
Ooh.
And he was going to trade me for this watch. It wasn't this one, but it was like another version of this watch. And I was like, I don't trust that there's nothing wrong with this watch because this is much better. So I was like, but I liked what, I love that watch.
There's probably something so randomly wrong with it. Like the watch is fine, but you can't do long division.
Yeah.
You can only divide 2 digits. If you go above 2 digits, it errors.
Yeah, the fucking 8 on the calculator is broke, so you can't write boobs on it.
You can't write boobs.
So I was like, I don't trust that. You don't want this watch. It wasn't even this one. It was like a black, like a matte black version of this watch.
Yeah.
I was like, you don't want this watch. There is something is up. Why? Because why would you want to trade? This one is way more it's not like that one is expensive or rare, but it is cooler.
Yeah,
why would you want this fucking whack ass? Yeah, the plain Jane Casio. So I never traded him for it, and I always be like, I should have traded him for it. But then also I think about it, it costs $19. I could just buy it. It's not expensive.
Yeah, but it's something about Dame. Dame's the drippiest comic.
He is, but far and away.
I remember one time I did a show with him in Norwalk, and there was a black light, and it just so happened to hit my shoes right, and he comes up to us, where the fuck did you get those shoes? I said, Dame, they're just white. It's it's the black light. And I was like, damn, I should have just... ran with it.
Nothing feels better than Dame.
Oh, yeah. When Dame compliments anything you're wearing, you're going to wear that for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, it becomes like a charity. Should I start dry cleaning this? You're like, how am I taking proper care of this? You start looking at the tag, and, oh shit, I wasn't supposed to be ironing this at all.
You get one of those the suitcases.
You get every time you show up to a show, you fucking zipping it out.
Yeah. That's it. I want to get another compliment from Dame.
There's nothing more valuable in the world.
No, that's like a credit. Like the Diamond Boy, also recommended by Dame FK because of his dress.
Yeah.
Dame wanted his watch.
Dame FK liked his flannel once. Oh shit, that's the one who liked the flannel. Yeah.
That's the flannel boy?
Yeah.
He is a diamond. He really is a diamond.
No, yeah, the Diamond Boy is funny too because not only do I not wear diamonds, I'm fundamentally against diamonds as an industry. So it's it's everything I'm against.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's art almost. Some would say you're an artist.
Yeah,
You are an artist, comedian extraordinaire,
Extraordinaire. That's the
podcaster,
Yeah, I'll take that.
writer,
Yeah,
poet,
sometimes
make movies,
working on it.
write movies.
Absolutely, bad one.
Aren't they all? Until they're
No,
not.
it takes a while. It takes a
They're all bad until they're not, or
Yeah.
until someone says, "Oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever," and then we get like Napoleon Dynamite
Yeah, I mean,
and shit like that.
that's
I just
funny
want to
about-
write one of those. That's the dream to
Yeah.
write like because like I talked about it before, like those Sharknado movies. They're terrible, but there's 7 of them. Somebody wanted these,
somebody wanted those,
And they
and somebody's getting paid to.
Yeah.
That's it, yeah.
and they're so dumb.
I used to work at a movie theater. I used to work with a dude who, him and another kid that worked there, they wrote Lifetime movies. I think they still do. And I was like,
Oh my
like,
God!
fun- like,
Writing
I
a
do-
Lifetime movie?
I despise these types of, I don't like these. I don't think they're good.
It's
But I
so
think
bad.
it's cool that like I know someone like that is a market. You know what I mean? Like I don't know if they thought they were very good.
formula?
I mean, it's absolutely a
Because
formula.
like all the Lifetime movies are like small town girl or small town guy, and then someone from high school who went off to the big city comes back around Christmas.
There's 3 Lifetime movies. There's the tragic life story, like true life story,
Yep.
right? Like
It's like almost true crime, but
yeah,
real
it's like
drama.
Casey Anthony, but it's not Casey Anthony.
Yep,
You know,
yep.
it's just like that,
Yeah.
or it is the Casey Anthony story, like literally called that. So there's that. There's that movie. There is the rom-com, just the most basic rom-com you've ever seen.
Yep.
And then there's the rom-com at Christmas.
The Christmas rom-com, which
Or, you
are
know-
always the same.
Well, okay, no, there's that. There's the first one. There's the rom-com, sometimes including Christmas. And
Yep.
then there's the Christmas movie that is about, like, the mother or father who's a businessman who doesn't,
Oh
like,
yeah,
is like,
yeah.
oh, like,
not there for their kids.
they don't, you know, and you're teaching them the true meaning of Christmas.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? It's
yeah.
like, oh, it's, you know, I shouldn't spend this much time at work. I should care about my kids.
Who
for what?
needs another vacation?
Yeah.
My kid
Yeah, and
needs
then at
his
one point,
father.
they, like,
So-
they're supposed to go to the big meeting. There's a big pitch
Oh
meeting.
yeah, he's like, I'm not
Yeah,
going
they
because
skip
my
it.
kid needs
yeah,
me.
and then everyone's like, what the fuck? Jim, we need you. And he's
What's
like,
gonna happen when it's like
kids
a?
need me.
What's gonna happen when it's like a real life situation? The dude gets fired. And like, dude, that was a really important meeting.
Yeah,
we,
dude,
lost,
like, you-
we lost a $2.5 million client, Joe.
For your son's Christmas?
Like, are you fucking? You're Jewish.
Yeah.
You're Jewish. What the fuck are you?
We're trying
talking
something new
about?
this year. What can I say?
And now you guys can't even celebrate Valentine's Day.
Yeah, you're fucking.
Fucking
Your
bro.
savings are dried
Yeah.
up by Valentine's Day because you decided for 1 year you wanted to be a good dad.
for once.
Yeah, because I find it hard to believe that they continue it next year. Because like they immediately have to like, oh, I gotta get a new job.
Yeah. And you
then-
gotta work. You gotta go through probation because you don't just get that time off. You can't just start a job and get Christmas off.
Right. Yeah. So then, yeah, exactly. So the next year you can't say, oh, I'm sorry.
Especially like a legit job like that, like a corporate job.
Yeah.
They work on Christmas and shit.
Yeah. So the next year you're like, no, I do recognize the meaning of Christmas, but I can't. Like before, I didn't get it.
Amazon doesn't give me Christmas
Yeah.
off.
She's like, yeah, like no, the meaning of Christmas is of the utmost importance.
Actually, there is no Santa Claus. There's just Amazon.
Yeah.
And then you like
Jeff
bring
Bezos.
them.
Yeah.
Then it becomes a heartwarming story. You take your kid to the Amazon factory,
Yeah.
and then they pretend it's Christmas, but it's not else. It's just
Yeah.
Amazon.
Yeah, they're
workers.
running around and grabbing fucking packages.
Just
and
so
then that's
depressed,
coming out of the
so
dad's
depressed,
paycheck.
running around sad. But they make them wear Santa hats. Every single one of them. So you started comedy when you were 18.
Yeah.
How old are you now?
Too old to not be successful at comedy.
Aren't we all? I think.
I'm 30.
Well, look at that.
Yeah.
What was that like starting when you were 18? Were you were the youngest by far?
Not by far, but of the people like, there were some comics who were like 22 or whatever,
Uh-huh.
and then some comics who were like, like mid 20s or whatever.
Are they still
And,
around?
for the most part, no. And then there was another comic or two that like started young after me.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, when I first started, it was like, you know what's funny to me is that when I first started, I thought I was starting late because I had a friend. We actually met him. You know, George Torres, Big Dreams. I think he goes by.
Yeah.
We used to middle school together,
Okay.
and we used to love like we used to like love like Martin. We used to love fucking Fresh Prince. We used to always talk about doing comedy, and then we heard that Joker's Wild opened up, and we were like, oh, we should do comedy when we get older. You know what I mean? And we used to always get kicked out of class for being funny.
Yeah.
And then in high school, I have a buddy who was also funny. We used to write sketches and shit. Like, we should do stand up. We never did it. And then like, I think it was like right after freshman year. Started sophomore year or maybe second semester of freshman year. I was like, I've been thinking about this forever. I had been writing jokes since high school. Like, none of them were very good, but I had a bunch of those jokes. So I was like, let me just go do it. And then it was fun. Like the first time I did it, in my memory, I did very well.
Yeah.
But I also, what it was like, there was a woman who was sitting directly in front of me, and she was laughing the whole time. And she was like, and if the joke wasn't strong, she would like smile really wide. And I was like, I think I got so keyed in on her. I don't know if I actually did well. Like I could have done well, I could have done poorly. Yeah. I don't actually remember. I just remember that she was enjoying it, and the people said I did well, but that was enough for me. So I think I might have blocked out if I did poorly. I don't know. I really don't know how I did, but I felt like I did well, and people liked me, and then I just kept doing it. Like George stopped doing it for a while. Because the first time he had been doing it before me. He started doing comedy, and that's what I hit him up. I was like, oh, like I see you've been going down to Joker's Wild. Let me come down with you one time. And he was like, yeah, I mean, I can't really I'm new too, but like, yeah, you can come down. And then he stopped going. But like, I'm gonna just keep going. Like, I'm enjoying this. I met Dan Coway.
Love Dan Coway. Shout out Dan Coway.
He used to run the open mic at Joker's Wild, and he was like super. Like I think one time he used to play music over the loudspeakers before the show. I think it was like a MF Doom song, and I was like, "Oh shit, you fuck with Doom?" And he was like, "Yeah." And then we fucking hit it off about that, and we started talking about comics and shit, and like different rappers and shit. And we just became friends like very quickly. He was like my first friend in comedy. Met DMFK, like my third time doing stand up. He was like fucking. We became instant friends or whatever. And I was having a good time, but like when I first started, it shit sucks because like. I wasn't 21. I used to skateboard everywhere. Like, anybody who knows me from that, like, everywhere I would skateboard. I didn't have a car, didn't have a license.
Were you a skater, or did you just have good transportation?
Mostly transportation. I skated a little bit, but I wasn't very good. But yeah, I skated everywhere. So I would always have to get a ride to a show, and then, like, I would skate home. Joker's Wild was downtown New Haven. I lived in New Haven, so I would just skate home from shows or whatever. And people, like, sometimes the comic would see me, like, skating, like, I'm like halfway home, and I'm like, where the fuck are you going? I'm like, I'm going home. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, just get in my car. I'm like, oh shit. I would never ask anybody for a ride. I would just leave. But like, there were so many shows where like they wouldn't let me in. I had to be like talked into being allowed into the bar or the whatever.
Because you were how?
Because I was like 19 or whatever, and they were like, oh, like, and it was funny because I don't drink, and I was like, I don't even want to drink. Like you, you think you're like, oh,
told me to come here to tell jokes.
I just want to do jokes. Like, I do not care about
anything. These are like open mics or shows?
Open mics and shows. Like, sometimes they're like, we can't let you in. I'm like, dude, I do not give a fuck about alcohol in the slightest.
I'll buy sodas.
I'm the one person, like, I know this is something someone has told you before, and then you caught them fucking having a daiquiri or whatever the fuck. But, like, you won't. Like, I want to have a cranberry juice and seltzer. Like, that's all I want.
I love going to a bar and ordering mocktails.
Yes.
Like, going to a bar and getting, like, a ginger ale with pineapple, with cranberry and a splash of pineapple.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite things.
They like making them, too. Like some bartenders, like, they're like, oh, like, yeah, this is a fun little thing. Yeah. They treat like you like they treat you like the little kid that you are.
Dude, you think that I imagine you're like, wow, this guy must have been fucking crazy. Like, this dude must not be able to handle shit.
Well, yeah, for sure. For an actual adult, like now, that's how I'd probably get perceived. But like when I was 19, like, oh, look at this cute kid. He wants his cranberry juice. Yeah,
look at this little
it's
guy.
On the house. It's like, oh yeah, give me a $2 drink on the house. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Oh wow.
But at the time, I did not have $2, so it was.
It was helpful. Sometimes that drink credit or that little like freebie at the bar comes in clutch.
Yeah, absolutely.
And sometimes you're just like, man, I need something.
Yeah, and also like, I used to like that I didn't drink because then I could just give my drink tickets or whatever to one of my comic friends. Like, I was give it to fucking Dan or stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can fucking take it. I'm not gonna use it. But yeah, so that was like always weird. Cause like this one time I did a show in New York with this comic Jordan Rock. He used to run the show at this bar, Karma Lounge, and I had my ID, but it would just be like, just come in, don't say anything, just walk past the guy. He probably won't say anything to you. I walk in, and he stops me, of course.
Why wouldn't?
And then he was like,
Why wouldn't he grab you by the collar?
So then they're like, oh yeah, you're not 21, you can't come in. So then I leave out, and then I was with Dame and Jordan Rock. They talk to the guy. They say, oh, just come in, show me your ID, and come into the show. So he's like, I come in again, and he's like, I'm talking to him. He's like, how old are you? I was like, 19, and he was like, I can't let you. I was like, what the fuck? And so then Dame and Jordan like, you were supposed to tell him you're 21. You never told me that. And I also
told me to give him my ID.
Yeah, and I also thought the fact that you guys talked to him means that like we had figured this part out.
So he just it's all formality. Like,
yeah, I thought it was like, okay, yeah, like just fucking, I just gotta make sure I'm gonna check your ID for fucking the camera purposes, and then let you in. So they were mad. I didn't get to do that show. I just, and Dame had gave me a ride to the show. We came from Connecticut together, so I just had to sit in
outside
his car. And then I was like, I'm not sitting in this car, so I just walked around for a bit. And then
where was it? It was in New York?
It was in New York.
Okay.
Which is like, it's not the worst.
Yeah, it's not the worst. You could have been like, because like we go through comedies, you go to these like fucking middle of nowhere places. You could have been in rural Massachusetts.
No, yeah, just like
sitting there.
Yeah, just in hell.
Oh my god, dude,
And then the funny thing about that, so we used to hang out with Jordan all the time before he moved to LA. So one time we had did a show or something. Jordan lived in Brooklyn. We were hanging out in Brooklyn, and we went back to his place, and then we were like going, like, let's go out to a bar or some shit. So we go to a bar, and we get to one bar, and like they don't let us in, and I was like damn, like because of me, because I was like I wasn't old enough, and I was like, yo, they always fucking stop at bars, and Jordan was like, I used to have the show Community.
Yeah.
Love Community. A friend of mine had bought me this Community lanyard, like Greendale Community College lanyard. I used to always wear my keys on it back then. Like when I was like in my late teens, early 20s. And then Jordan was like, it's because you wear that fucking lanyard, you look like a kid. And I was like, oh shit, you're right. And I never wore a lanyard again. And it's one of my most prized possessions. It did stop a lot after that, yeah. It was the funniest thing. I was like, God damn, this is like one of my most prized. But I do look like adults don't wear lanyards unless they're
Wait, you would wear your lanyard with your keys around your neck?
Yes.
Oh. Yeah, like I would have my lanyard in my pocket.
No, yeah,
but not around my neck.
I would often have it in my pocket, but sometimes I would just have it around my neck.
Yeah, I wore it around my neck.
And
I feel like it would be
so yeah, you were in that fucking. Well, I didn't have a car. I had like 2 keys. I had I had a house key and then
a weird medallion.
Yeah, it was mostly just fucking I had an Optimus Prime little action figure, which again
did not help.
But also the lanyard was tucked in.
Yeah.
But I guess just the fact that I was wearing a lanyard and it didn't say fucking Google or whatever on it, it was like, yeah, this is a child.
It said it's a fictional community college.
Yeah, I look like a guy. I look like a kid whose parents hey, you lose your keys all the time, so we're gonna make you wear them around your neck. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I can see how that
changed my life forever. I got 10 times cooler at that moment, and I got into way more bars and shit after that.
Which drug was the keys in the pocket?
Put them in my pocket.
That's it.
Just wrap the fucking.
And I recently bought a crossbody bag because I was in Buffalo and I just had too much shit in my pocket.
Mm-hmm.
I just got overwhelmed, and I was in a smoke shop and they had this Nike crossbody bag, and I grabbed it and I was like, I want this, and I bought it, put all my stuff in it, and I felt instant relief. No, I don't go anywhere without it.
Yeah. Did you also become a bike messenger after that? You decided
I should have become a bike messenger.
I feel like you have to become a bike messenger once you get across.
Or a paper boy.
Yeah.
But I see paper the paper people, paper person.
Wow, I guess yes, we are in culture now.
They come around with they drive.
Yeah.
And they're flinging them across It's not as impressive when they're throwing them out the driver's side, but when they're flinging them out the passenger side window,
that shit's cool.
That's impressive.
But it does make me sad. There's so many fucking wholesome, or not wholesome 12-year-olds who no longer have that job.
Yeah, but you gotta think nowadays they be doing it on dirt bikes.
Yeah.
It'd be like a 5 a.m. dirt bike, this gang going up and down every street throwing.
Yeah, it's probably for the best.
It might be for the best. Although, that would
like
be
in
a really fast way to get your news.
Or like in 2017, it would have been like on those fucking they were calling them hoverboards, but
Oh,
just
those
like
fucking
the Segway
things.
without
Mike Tyson broke his back on that.
Yeah.
That's dangerous as hell, man.
I was so mad when people were calling those hoverboards.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I deserve a future where there is a hoverboard.
Yeah.
Like we're actually hovering.
It was predicted.
Like Marty McFly
Marty
and
McFly
shit.
said we'd have hoverboards.
Yeah, I don't want like
nothing.
I'm not settling for a Segway without the fucking handle.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy though. They forgot what hover meant. Like there was no hovering at all.
Yeah, it was one of those things where it's like, I think it was somebody who recognized that this is just a Segway without the handlebars, and like that is not cool. We have to market this in a way that's cool, so we're gonna call it a hoverboard, and then kids will want
and
it.
And put fucking lasers on it.
Yeah, because like them shit sucked.
Yeah, that was stupid.
But
see, that was like the dumb shit they had. Like when we were kids, we had much cooler things. Like we had like the moon shoes. Moon shoes ruled. Sockenboppers.
Yeah.
Sockenboppers were cool as fuck. I recently, as an adult, got my first light bright.
You just got one.
Yeah, got one.
Finally,
that was really cool.
No, it's. How long did you play with it before you're like, okay, I'm good?
I use it for like I'll put like notes on it.
Oh, that's cool.
So
yeah,
I put some use to it.
Because sometimes you have those things where you're like, I wanted this so bad, and then you finally get it, and it's too late. It's like you're too old for it now. You're like, oh, this fucking sucks.
I realized I was like, I have no artistic ability. I don't know what to do, but I can write words.
I have no use for this. But it was cool. It was cool.
It was fucking. I couldn't get it as a kid.
Yeah,
I think that's the problem we face now as adults. Like I have access to an adult bank account, but it's mine.
It's somebody else's.
It's mine, and I can just get whatever.
Oh,
I want
you said an adult bank account, like
yeah, like it's mine. It's like I have my own adult bank account, like, and I can whatever I want. If I see something stupid, and I'm like, yeah, that's purpose.
Yeah,
I'll buy it. I shouldn't, but I will.
No, it's the curse of being an adult. You know what I mean? It's like everything. When you're a kid, you don't know what money is, or you don't really have a value for it the way, you know what I mean. So it's like, why can't I get this? It only costs $19.99 plus shipping and handling. You know what I mean? It's like no, like okay, well you want one, your brother wants one, and I don't even have $40. I don't even have the $40 base dollars plus the ship. The shipping and handling is out. You know what I mean? Like we're gonna have to drive to the factory if we want to even get this for you because I cannot afford the shipping and handling.
We played this commercial. Like, Mom, it's only 5 easy payments of $19.95, Mom. Like literally, that's nothing.
They didn't say hard payments.
And she would
5 easy payments.
I remember I wanted zoo books.
Oh, I remember zoo books.
I was like, Mom, I want zoo books. She's like, for what? I was like, so I can learn about animals. And she goes, why? And I was like, all right.
Yeah, he's like, you know what?
Why do I don't know.
That's a great question.
How dare I want to learn about like elephants and shit.
It's funny too because it's like if I was your mom, you'd be like, oh, I want zoo books, and you'd be like, why? And you'd be like, and I'd be like, you'd be like, oh, to learn about animals. And I'm like, don't you know animals? Like what animals do you not know enough about? I can tell you right now, like I can tell you 12 animals right now: elephants, fucking zebras, monkeys. Like how many more? Like, but at the same time,
Mom, there's a whole book about marsupials. Then my mom would get mad because she wouldn't know what a marsupial was.
Yeah, I would be the same thing. I'm like,
swear, and she would hit me.
Yeah, like,
watch your fucking mouth.
You think? Yeah, don't say marsupials to me. You don't need to say that in my house.
We got past that.
Yeah. But then something I've noticed is that every day on the internet I see a new animal.
Yeah.
Like I see a new animal and a new type of fruit. Like they teach. Like I realize how much
a lot of fruit.
They're making a lot of fruit, but there's so many more fruits than we were told, and so many more animals. Like I feel like they only taught us the bait, like pigs, monkeys, zebras, elephants, whatever. And then you grow up and think, oh, these are all the animals. There's skunks, there's squirrels, there's fish. There's like 12 fish.
And then they're just popping up new animals every other week.
There's like 75. Like there's so many like breeds of not even breeds, but like an animal that sort of looks like an impala but is not. That I see on the internet. Like I'm like, where? Like
Now you know what? I think there's too many types of frogs.
There's way too many frogs.
We don't need. Why do you need so many different types of frog? For what?
I mean, I guess they just, you know, I mean, they're just tired of fitting in. You know what I mean?
They just do it. And then frogs and toads, basically the same animal.
I don't like that. I don't like
that is.
I don't like when there's an animal that I need to know, like, some sort of handy, like, phrase or, like, a mnemonic device to tell them apart. It's like, well, alligators are, like, it's not going to matter. Like, if I'm in a fucking swamp and there's an alligator or crocodile, like, knowing which one is which,
not going to help me not get eaten.
Yeah, like, even knowing what is, sometimes one of them is like, oh, alligators fucking, they have, I don't know. Like, but, like, these ones are more aggressive, like, but, like, it's going to kill me regardless.
I think one of them has, like, crocodiles have a narrow, long mouth.
Yeah.
So that means that it's going to hurt more when they eat me.
Yeah, that means they can fucking get me through a fence.
Yeah. Like, I can't even hide behind a fence. Like, they're going to get me through.
Yeah, I don't like, I think that we should, I'm all for, like, nature conservatism, but I do think we should just get rid of any animal that's like that has a sort of doppelganger. Like, we should get rid of them.
You gotta either you pick one or you just like all become crocodiles.
Yeah, which do you prefer, alligators or crocodiles? I like alligator. I say alligator more. Like, I feel like nobody ever says crocodile.
Yeah, but like the crocodile hunter, was he dealing with alligators though?
See, that's the thing. I feel like he dealt with alligators. I feel like he was running the gamut of.
And they got killed by a stingray, which is fucked up.
Yeah.
You gotta feel crocodiles feel cheated there.
Crocodiles feel cheated. We feel cheated. If this guy's gonna die, it should be from his mortal enemy, not just like, you know what I mean.
Or what if they're
mortal enemies? It's like, if you watch The Wire.
Yeah.
It's like when Omar gets killed by Kennard. You're like, no, this is like people. Like, I thought fucking Stringer was gonna kill him. I thought Ava. No.
Yeah, this is not the right thing.
Yeah. This shouldn't have been. I do think that works for the show, but in life, I didn't want him to.
No. It has to be his mortal enemy.
Yeah, that's how it goes. You die at the hands of your mortal enemy.
It's like Batman getting beat by like Calendar Man. It's like, no, fuck you.
Yeah.
Like no.
Yeah, like if Bane breaks his back, I'm fine with that.
Fine.
Makes perfect
but
sense.
Calendar Man makes him miss an appointment?
Yeah.
I don't fucking care.
Fucking Mad Hatter? No, dude. I'm not with it.
He's got a lot of useless super villains.
They all do. They all, because it's all like, see, that's the problem with comics, is that it's just dumb fun, right?
Yeah.
But then, like, people want it to be like, but it's supposed to be like a realistic version of, so it's like, this is just a fun thing. Hey, we have to put out an issue every week for the next 20 years.
Yeah, we're gonna come up. We're gonna have some fucking
silly. Yeah, this guy's he likes calendars. Let's fucking and no one's gonna bat an eye at it because like, hey, we just need you to put out an issue.
I forgot what game it was. I think it was one of the Arkham games. I think it was like one of the ones for like
PS3.
PS3. You go in and you could change like the date on your PS3.
Yeah.
Like Calendar Man has different things set for
days. I do remember that.
And you can like set it for like Christmas and you do like Christmas things.
But, so those villains are perfect for like a video game. You know what I mean? Like just have you do a dumb task or whatever.
It's fucking silly.
But like in a like, you know, people are not going to take Calendar Man seriously in a movie. Even though
I don't think Polka Dot Man would have done well outside of Suicide Squad.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, he wouldn't have fared very well in a Batman movie, I don't think.
And even in Suicide Squad, they have to do this sort of, sort of meta approach of saying like we know this is ridiculous.
Yep.
You know, and like he's gonna sort of, he's a joke. And
he's in on it. He gets
and he'll succeed in certain ways despite being a joke. But like we all know this is silly. This is what the guy with polka dots. You know what I mean?
Wow. I've still seen Spider-Man.
You haven't seen
Across the Universe? Spider-Verse?
I don't even know why I agreed to do this podcast.
I'm so sorry.
Jesus
I'm sorry. It's on the list. I signed up for. I love going to movies. Like during the pandemic, it sucked not being able to go to movies.
Yeah.
Like I still go. I don't care. People are like, oh, it's still. I don't care.
I go to movies.
Like especially for like certain movies, like you have to go see certain movies in the theaters. Like I had to go see Guardians 3 in the theaters. Like I got a link for it.
Mm-hmm.
Someone's like, oh, you can watch it at home. It's really great quality. It's not the same.
No, yeah, it's never. I've never. There's tons of movies I've seen. I'm such an advocate for the the theater experience, and I recognize the reasons why people don't like the theater somewhat.
Yeah.
And I've watched plenty of movies for the first time at home, and it was still great. But like, there's nothing like the theater, dude. Like,
No.
especially like the first either opening weekend or like, you know, while people are still like packing in theaters, like, you know, like the first few weeks of a movie.
Yes.
Like, it's so. And obviously, I've had plenty of experiences at a movie where it fucking sucks because somebody was talking all the time or whatever. But more often than not, like, it just, and you know, I'm not even mad at the like people sometimes it's like, oh, you saw it in the theater and you made you think it was better than it was. And I was like, I think that's cool. I think that's cool. That there's a phenomenon of like being in the atmosphere of being in this room can elevate something past like I like why not have something like that exists like that? You know what I mean? Like that makes it like cooler. Like in especially when like so many directors talk about like, oh, I made this for the theater experience. It's like, yeah, maybe it isn't as cool at home. Like maybe I saw Gravity opening weekend in 3D IMAX.
Yeah.
In top 3 like film going experiences of my life.
Yeah.
That movie would not be as good on an airplane. And I don't think that's a flaw of the movie.
I don't know if that's a movie I'd want to watch on an airplane.
But I'm saying like, there are people who would watch that on an airplane like, oh, that movie was made.
Suck.
You know? It's like,
because it's not made for that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with making a movie for the theater experience. I think
because like that's why they have those kind of cameras. That's why they do that shit. That's why I want to see Oppenheimer.
Oh, you gotta see it. Yeah, I'm trying to go see that.
Are you trying to see that and Barbie? You're gonna double dip.
You gotta double dip.
Do you remember that? Oh, that was like one of the best parts about going to the movies like back in high school. It's like going to one movie and then hopping into another one.
Dude, one time I spent like 8 hours at a movie theater because we snuck into me and my brother and some of his friends, we snuck into The Wolf of Wall Street.
Okay.
Which is a 3 hour and 10-minute movie.
Yep.
And then we also snuck into The Hobbit. I think it was the second Hobbit or whatever, which is another 3 hour movie. Yeah. And then there was the time in between because we were at the movie theaters for like 7.5 hours. And The Wolf of Wall Street is obviously an amazing movie, and the Hobbit movie was awful, but it was fun that at least we didn't pay for it. You know what I mean? Like, we stuck in and saw it. And, I mean, it wasn't awful. Like, it was fine. It's not very good, but it wasn't like the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. But it was like, I'm glad I did not pay money to see this. So yeah, it was like, I miss having that sort of amount like that. When you're a kid, you just don't know how good you have it. Like, just like being able to have that much free time. It's like, I'm going to just go see 2 movies back to back.
Because I got nothing to do. I don't got to go home. I got no one to go hang out. Like, everyone I want to hang out with is right here. Going to see this movie with me. I remember skipping school to sneak into the movies. I remember, it was like my sophomore year, I skipped school. I skipped my last period and snuck in to go see the second Jackass movie.
It's an excellent.
And it was phenomenal. It was the best. And it was like middle of the day. I bought a ticket for like a completely opposite movie. And like the guy, it was just me and a friend of mine. And the guy knew that I wasn't going to that movie. Nobody cared. It was wonderful. Yeah, it was great. They were just like,
you paid money. It doesn't matter to me at this point.
It's like get popcorn, go.
I used to work in a theater for like 2 years. And I was such a like, I am anti-corporate motherfucker. Like, I don't care. Like, if I saw somebody sneaking in, you're in. Like, I don't care. I'm not gonna. I hated my coworkers who were like so gung ho about like,
oh, like trying to get promotions. Yeah,
like stopping people from coming in, or like, oh, you used that ticket earlier, or I saw you pass that ticket to you. Like, who gives a fuck, dude? Like, no one's like.
You don't get paid extra.
You don't get paid extra
for being phone police.
And even if you did, the raises that we got at that job were 35 cents. So you went from $9.70 to $10.05. Like it's not even worth the trouble.
I worked at a fast food restaurant, and they offered me a shift leader promotion, and the raise was a nickel.
Dude, that was.
And I went, no.
Yeah, I'm good.
No.
And the same thing at when I was at the movie theater. The manager, we made like our base salary was like $9.35. Yeah. And the managers, I think, made maybe $11 to start.
No.
And I was like, and their job was, they worked they came in like an hour or two before us, and they had their shifts were like 2 hours longer than ours.
Yeah.
They had so much more responsibility. And I was like, and you know, some people are like, oh, like somebody in my coworkers like, oh, I can't wait to move up to manager. Like, for what?
Why?
For what?
Why?
Like, I could just like I've been sitting in the sort of storeroom behind the concession stand for the last 45 minutes, eating popcorn I'm not supposed to be eating because I'm not a manager, and I'm making the same money as this guy who is wearing a shirt and tie.
Yeah.
And has to go clean up vomit out of the bathroom because all the other ushers are occupied, but he's the manager. Like it's not worth it.
It's not the same.
Yeah,
it's not the same. It's like when I worked at the fast food spot. First, I pretended I didn't speak English, so I didn't have to work at the cashier.
Really?
So I got to work in the back. I worked on the grill for a little bit, but then one of the older Hispanic ladies got sick, so they put me on the line, and they found I was really good at it. So it was like, bet. So I got to hang out there, used to get high as hell on my breaks with my boy, eat nuggets all day. They made me close on Tuesdays. So like if you came to the drive-thru at the spot I work, I'd just give you extra food. Because we had to throw it out anyway. I thought that was terrible. Like, how would you throw out all this food? So like if you came to the drive-thru and ordered like a 10-piece nugget, I'd give you like 40. I would just pour them in the bag.
I used to do the same shit. So like at the movie theater in Milford, there's like the ice cream counter and like the Starbucks whatever. And I used to work the ice cream counter a lot. And dude, like we're supposed to give for a small, you're supposed to give 1 scoop, and for a large, I think it's 2 or 3.
Yeah.
I used to just fucking just
healthy
like
scoop
to the point like I used to put like 6 scoops into like for a small to the point where one time some customer was like, I appreciate what you're doing, but this is too much ice cream. Like I asked for a small for
this
a reason.
movie's only 90 minutes long.
Like it's just gonna melt. It's just gonna be a puddle in my life. I appreciate what
Y'all
you're
gonna
doing.
have to clean this.
Yeah, but he's like, this is too much ice cream. I can't do it. I was like, damn. And no one's ever turned down
all this
like an
extra
opportunity to.
I think those movie theaters kind of kill it for me. Like all the ones that have all the extra food and shit. Like it's just too much. Like there's one in New York that seems really cool. But like I've been thinking about it. And it's like you walk into the theater and you sit down, and there's like a tablet. And you can like order like meals, and they'll bring you like a steak dinner to the movie
I'll be
theater.
honest.
And I'm like, that's great. I don't know if I could eat a steak dinner and then watch a movie.
I couldn't have a steak, but like there's there's Alamo Draft House, which is like the original sort of boutique theater chain, which like sort of they weren't necessarily the inventors of like having food at your seat in like a sort of, but like they were like one of the first to do it, and like they were the most popular. And then there's like other ones like this is great theater, small. It's not a chain, but like there's 2 locations in Brooklyn called Nighthawk. And it's the same thing as Alamo, but it's better. I love those theaters though because like they really care about movies. So it's like Alamo Draft House is very particular about not talking during movies, not being on your phone, shit like that. Like they police that shit super hard. They have like
I wish more theaters had that. I wish more theaters had like I feel like as a movie theater employee, that should be the only thing you should be like an asshole about.
Yeah.
Is like shut the fuck up in the movie theater. Because like if you're in here and you snuck in, you still want to watch the movie, but most of these people paid for this movie.
Yeah.
I didn't pay to hear you fucking talk.
But that's why it's so frustrating when that happens. You know what I mean? And people always complain about it. Like, oh, like movies are so expensive, and then I gotta worry about this fucking guy talking the whole time, which I get.
Yeah, but the people who are talking ain't paying
exactly
movie prices, and I'll take that.
And that's another reason why I like Alamo Draft House, Nighthawk, sort of boutique chains like that, is because if you're going to a Nighthawk, if you're going to an Alamo Draft House, if you're going to like the Metrograph or something like that, these are places where you sort of know. You don't just wind up at Nighthawk. You don't just wind up at Alamo Draft. Like maybe Alamo because it's a little bit more popular. But it's like so you know what you're a film lover, right? So you know you have the reverence for movies that that you would want other people to have. So like they police it very well there, but also you don't have to. You won't even have. They don't even have to worry about it. Because people, like it's like a sort of.
This is what people want.
This is what you bought into by even showing up here.
You always been a big movie guy.
Always, and always been a big movie guy, but I really got into movies and filmmaking. Like where like hesitate to call myself like and have an encyclopedic knowledge because I know like true film buffs who know everything about movies. Who watch like I know I follow a guy on Twitter, film writer. He's watched I think 735 movies in 2023 already, which is like one. He's a writer for films. He has the time to do that, but also like he dedicates his time to. But I say I would say
but that's also probably just watching everything. That's
he watches.
I don't
everything.
think that doesn't sound like someone who's very like particular. I think.
Well, that's the thing. I think when you really, I think
like when you love movies.
When you really love movies, like I think
what
you get to a point like when you're not as particular. Like I have my taste, and I know what I like, so I'm very particular about what I go and see. But I think also, when you really start to love movies and filmmaking, you start to be able to watch something and appreciate it for what it is. I think sometimes when we view art, we go into it with our own biases, and we place an expectation. I was talking to a friend of mine. I'm gonna go backtrack and then we'll come back to this.
All right.
So my friend in high school, I was into movies, but like, I didn't know directors' names, I didn't know actors' names, whatever.
You just knew movies.
I just knew movies that I fucked with, and my friend, the same friend who I used to talk about in high school, going to do stand up with. He got me into really into movies. I remember he was telling me about Reservoir Dogs, and he was like, "You gotta see Reservoir Dogs." I was like, "I've never seen it." He's like, you know who's the star of it is Steve Buscemi, and I was like, I don't know who that is, and he was like, he's Steve Buscemi, and then like he showed me a picture, like, oh, that's just the weird guy from the Adam Sandler movies, and he was like, his name is Steve Buscemi, and I was like, I just know him as the weird guy from the Adam Sandler movies. So I went home. And I watched Reservoir Dogs. Like, I remember it vividly. I downloaded it off Mega Video when Mega Video was still the shit. Watched it, and I was like, "This shit rules." And I had didn't know. What's funny? I didn't know who Quentin Tarantino really was, but I had me and my dad and my brothers. We loved Kill Bill. You know what I mean? We had both of them on DVD. I remember we took a trip to Niagara Falls, and my dad had this portable DVD player. Me and my brother watched. I don't know. I think we only brought those two movies, and we watched them like 19 times.
I bet.
So then I was like, oh, like after I think, oh, I never thought about this guy having a name. Obviously, he has a name. I never thought like these show me his work. Then that made me like, oh, I want to know like actors' names. You know what I mean? I want to know directors' names. And then that got me. And he knew a bunch of movies that like his dad would like have him watch, and then so that he was into. Like it got me really into fucking movies. And then I started learning directors. I started like, oh, I want to watch this guy's filmography. I gotta watch Old Boy. I want to watch, I want to watch foreign films.
Yeah.
And then, so fast forward, I have a conversation with that friend of mine, and I was like, I think sometimes we were talking about this movie that came out last 2021. I think it's called Kimmy. It was HBO Max original, directed by Steven Soderbergh, who's one of my favorite directors. He did the Ocean's movies. He did Mike, whatever. Great director, very prolific director as well. And he's not a very picky director in terms of like he wants to just. He's very much like, I can shoot this cheaply, I can shoot this quick. I wanna innovate, but I'm not like too hung up on like this being the perfect script or whatever. I'll shoot he shot the Ocean movie, which was like super big.
Let's just have a great time.
Yeah. And he's like,
because you go from Oceans to Magic Mike, like that's a drastic difference.
Yeah, it's like, and then even like something like Kimmy or like some of the other movies that he shoots like super low budget. He could shoot something like Ocean's movies is like that's like peak star power movie. Like you got some of the biggest stars in Hollywood. It's a big time Hollywood production. But he's like, I just want to make movies. You know what I mean? And I rated on Letterboxd. I don't know if you know Letterboxd. It's like an app for like logging films.
Yeah,
like,
you can like rate them, and do review and all that stuff.
And I gave it 4 stars on Letterboxd, and he was like, "You gave this 4 stars? Like, are you fucking out of your mind?" And I was like, "Yeah, I thought it was really good." Like, and he was like, he's like, "You would say this is as good as like," he said like, if you were. I would say Pulp Fiction is a 5-star movie. He's like, let's just say Reservoir Dogs is a 4-star movie. You would say this is as good as Reservoir Dogs? I was like, no, that's actually not what I'm saying. I'm saying that I think this movie achieves exactly, it's a 4-star version of this movie, which is to say that it is achieving everything it's trying to do. Yeah. Like, it's not trying to
deliver its message, it did what it had to do.
Yeah, it's not trying to be Pulp Fiction, it's not trying to be Citizen Kane, it's not trying to be There Will Be Blood. It knows what it is, and it's doing it very well. And I was like, I think when you become, to bring back to my point that I was making before, I think when you really love something, you start to be able to see the value in all forms of it. Like something can still be bad, or you can recognize that this is not as good as Citizen Kane, or this is not as good as Pulp Fiction, but this has its merits. You know what I mean? Like this director is, you would say this guy maybe makes bad movies, but he innovated. He pioneered this style of directing.
Yeah.
Or like this actor is doing something really interesting in this performance, even though you wouldn't necessarily call this a good performance. This wouldn't win an Oscar, but I can see like, oh, you know what? This is fun. This is schlock. This is
a movie I'd watch again.
Yeah, but I would watch this again, or I might never watch it again. But I can appreciate this value in this, and it's not like you don't have to hold everything up to like the Oscar standard or like the standard of like whatever you think the best movies are. Like everything has its value, and again, things can be horrible. Yeah, something can just straight up be bad, but you can also recognize that like there's so much like if you open yourself up to a movie, you can get so much more out of it. That's true of any bit of art. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you open, like there's songs where I'm like this pop song. You know, like music purists like hate pop music. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like you gotta recognize. I used to be like that way to an extent, but it's like you gotta recognize that this has a time and place. You know what I mean? Like I love MF Doom, I love Earl Sweatshirt, I love super underground rappers. But like you wouldn't put this on at a party. Like you need a song that you can play at a party, and people are gonna shake their fucking ass. You know what I mean? People are gonna want to dance. People are gonna like it gets the energy up. You know what I mean? The lyrics might be dog shit, but this is value in something just being purely fun. You know what I mean?
Just need something when you put on your head to start bobbing to it.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's certain shit where it's like it doesn't like people do it all the time. Like, oh, like so and so can't rap like Mos Def. He can't rap like fucking Lupe. It's like I love both of those people. Exactly. They're not trying to do that. That's not at all what they're trying to do. They're just trying to like they want to make money. They're trying to make money. They're trying to make people dance. They're trying to make fucking just having fun and sweet. I think there's value to that. Again, there's plenty of that shit that sucks. You know
my god, yeah.
Well,
what was it? Like a week ago, Bow Wow was saying that it's just the reason why there's no #1 rap album is because all the music sucks right now.
Yeah, and I hate that he said that because it's like I think one when you say shit like that you're not paying attention, right?
Yeah.
Like everybody who says that is like in their 40s or like a super hip hop head. Like, yo, there's no good rap music anymore. It's like there's tons of good rap music. And
you're just looking at the wrong spots.
You're looking in the wrong spots, and you also aren't letting rap evolve, right? Like Lil Baby, he's as much as a pop star now as a rapper because he's a big time star. But like Lil Baby's a great rapper. You know what I mean? He has great flows. He gets in a great pocket. If you listen to his lyrics, he's actually like he's wiser than you think. You know what I mean? But he's not rapping like Rakim. He's not rapping like fucking Big Pun or whatever. That doesn't mean what he's doing is not good. Now, if you're not willing to evolve with it, you think this is not rap. I think there is certain shit that's happening now. Like, this is not rap. This is not what you grew up on as rap. But it doesn't mean it's not good. You know what I mean? That doesn't mean like these people are not talented or don't have value. But you have to let like hip hop should not be what it was in 1991 or 1985. You know what I mean?
Because everything has to evolve. It has to grow.
Yeah, and like in order to do that, people have to start doing something that which you wouldn't even like. It's so funny. In every art, there is something that is held up as like one of the in the pantheon of great examples of this art, and at the time, everyone hated it. You know what I mean? They said this is not art. This is not jazz. This is not rock and roll. This is not rap. This is not painting. I mean, like this is not artistic. This is bullshit. Because they like you have to like there's I'm sorry I'm all over the place, but there's this writer
That's cool.
there's a writer I read. This film writer. He has this gimmick called Film Crit Hulk. He's like basically like he used to write reviews as the Hulk. Now he doesn't do that anymore, but that's still his like sort of moniker. But he did this long piece on like 80,000 words on James Bond, like in like just the evolution of that franchise, whatever. And he basically said something that I always remembered about this piece. He said like, every James Bond movie is an overreaction to the previous James Bond movie, which is to say, let's say, or not James Bond movie, but every James Bond era. Like so, every time there's a new James Bond, it's sort of an overreaction in some way to the previous era. So like, let's say for example, you're like close enough in age for like. You grew up when you were young. The Bond was Pierce Brosnan. You know what I mean? Die Another Day, all that shit. GoldenEye. Those movies were very silly. You know what I mean? like the tech was very dumb. Like I mean, it's like you know.
Real
oil slicks, campy. You know, the tech was like it was a lot of it like this car could start flying. You know, there's fucking rockets in his boots or whatever.
He's huge.
Shit like that. Flames. Yeah, this pen is a gun. You know, that type of shit. So when you're gonna cast a new James Bond, you're gonna do a new series with a new new director, new. You're gonna strip it down. So Daniel Craig's James Bond is very like it's like let's see if. What does James Bond really be like? You know, it's not as tongue in cheek. You know, it's not as campy. It's very stripped down. It's very like what you would call gritty or like closer to a realistic version of what an agent would be. Like you know, the tech is not as wild. You know, it's so like and if you go back, you can see it. Every era is like that, and that's the same thing I think with art and all forms of art. When like postmodernism is a reaction to modernism, it's like hey, if we're all doing this, like if one of my favorite movies is The French Dispatch by Wes Anderson, and there's a scene in that movie where basically there's Adrian Brody's character is playing this sort of art, sells art, and he going to his partners, and he's got this guy he was in jail with who he's trying to sell his art, and he's like he's doing abstract art. He's like this movie set in the early 20th century, so he's supposed to be like one of the first abstract art. Yeah, and he was like we're moving on from like landscapes and like pictures of fruit bowls and shit, and we're doing this now. And you're like, I don't get it. And he's like, of course you know. And he's like, basically what he's saying is, this guy can do this, but he thinks this is better. He said one of the ways you find out if an abstract artist is full of shit is if you have him draw something normal like a boat or whatever.
He can do it.
And he can do it. He's like, that means he has the skills. He's like, so he can do this. He shows him a picture that he drew. He's like, he drew this with a matchstick, a burnt matchstick in 10 seconds. But he thought this was better. And he's like, it's because it's a reaction. He's like, if everyone's doing fucking, landscapes or portraits, and it all looks the same, like the only way to stand out and the only way to push the art form forward is to do something entirely different. And initially, people are gonna be like, I don't fucking know if this is art, dude. I don't know what the fuck this is.
I don't understand like when people do that, like going back to the hip hop thing. I don't understand when people talk about, I don't like this new hip hop, it's not hip hop. When like if we didn't have evolution in hip hop, we'd still be talking about like the Bricks and like Sugar Hill Gang.
Yeah, and the flows would be so whack, like
you'd run out. You'd run out of that flow.
And it's like exactly. You like how much more of this can we even do? And it's like you need someone to push the thing so much forward. Like I'm sure when Rakim, I think is it's weird to say this because like there's so many people you can put in this position, but I feel like he's the most important rapper in history in the sense that like Rakim is the guy who moved rap forward.
Everyone wanted to be Rakim.
Yeah, and he moved rap away from like the hip hop. Like he was the first one who actually like you would say this guy has a fucking flow.
Yeah,
I mean, this guy is using different words.
He was the first who came out with like spitting.
Yeah, like it was like and his influence is you can still feel it today. You know what I mean? But you need that. And I'm sure all the people because like, hip hop started at parties and shit.
Yeah,
his shit wasn't as it did have a party feel to it, but it wasn't as like party friendly as like. Sugar Hill Gang or like
that was
Blow. But
that was the shit that they were spitting like downstairs in the alley like when they were out there selling shit in the corner and like waiting for someone to come up, they'd just be rapping to each other.
Yeah, he was the first person to really make art. I think he's the first. There's other people I'm sure that aren't as famous that were probably doing anything that he was influenced by or whatever.
Yeah. And
I'm sure there's other people at the same time, but I feel like he's the guy to me who really made rap art in the sense that like he's approaching this. Poetically, he's approaching this as a not just as a thing like I'm trying to get the party started or I'm just like even like like certain
he had something to say.
Yeah, he had something to say, but it also he structures it really well. Where it's like the message, the famous hip hop song, don't push me cause I'm close to that had something to say or like Curtis Blow like broken glass everywhere people that has a message, but it's not. It's still not as like well formed as what Rakim is. Like he has a message. He has a point of view, but he also has he has so much swag. He has so much style as a writer.
The way he delivered it.
Yeah,
he
packaged it so well.
Yeah,
but he doesn't lose the art. He doesn't lose like the fun of hip hop. But he also is able to like Rakim was so like I'm sure whoever Curtis Blow is maybe as intelligent as Rakim, but Rakim seemed so much smarter than all these guys. You don't know, you can't really judge somebody's intelligence by how they're presenting themselves in their music, but Rakim's like, this guy seems like a fucking genius. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, like you would hear the words he's rhyming, you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, like I remember there's a song where Rakim said, I forgot what he rhymed with it, but he rhymed something with Ayatollah Khomeini. He's like, he's rapping about the fucking Ayatollah in a rap, so like, who's doing that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's just so far beyond whatever.
It's the kind of rap that you hear and you have to have like a dictionary.
Yeah, it's
so
like,
you can like decipher.
but it was still fun. That's what's crazy. Like, you know, because so long after Rakim and a lot of rappers, like hip hop head rappers, you know what I mean? Like, you know, whether it be Nas, whether it be you know, Cannabis or whatever. Those guys, people always say like, "Oh, this guy's boring." He, you know, what I mean, he think he's trying to kick knowledge. He think he's smarter than everybody. Rakim was able to do that without seeming boring, and he was still like he's such a perfect like encapsulation of everything.
Yeah, because that's what I'm saying. It was just like the swagger he had. Like he wasn't, you know, when he was like spitting those bars with like talking about the Ayatollahs and shit. It wasn't like telling you in a way where like I'm fucking smarter than you. How could you not know this? Stupid.
Yeah,
It's one of those things where it's like I'm just talking, you're listening.
Yeah, you can internalize that he's smart without. It never feels like he's trying to let you know that he's smart. There's a comic, a famous comic. I'm not gonna name him. Actually, I'll fuck it out. It's not gonna listen. This comic, Mike Kaplan, and I always talk to other.
Dude, it's like one of my biggest listeners. One of the biggest.
He's like, fuck.
He's like, damn it.
But it's this comic, Mike Kaplan, who's very smart, very smart comic. But so much of his jokes are like, this is clever when he writes like, oh, I'm writing and this is clever. And it comes across like you're trying to let us know that you're clever at the sake of being actually very funny. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and I feel like a lot of sometimes rappers get into that mood where it's like, I gotta let y'all know what I'm like. I'm a smart rapper, and it's like, I can pick up that you're smart without you telling me that you're smart.
Yeah, you don't have to
like
tell
if
me.
you're
You
smart, it'll come across regardless. You know what I mean?
That's how I feel about Kendrick. I think Kendrick's a smart rapper.
He's absolutely smart.
Like Kendrick, I think J. Cole's really smart. I got a lot of on my like Instagram feed. I get like a lot of those like the bar breakdown things.
Yeah.
They talk about the double entendres and all the wordplay and stuff, and they break it all down and stuff. And I'm like, it's crazy that that they can do all this. Like that when they're writing like one line, but this one line has like 7 different meanings and all that stuff. And how they can get those 7 meanings off in 4 lines is crazy.
It is crazy, but you know what it comes from? I was talking to you about this. We were talking about poetry one time, and I was saying I started writing more poetry because I started making it a practice, right? Where it's like I think a lot of times when you're doing whatever art, especially when you're starting out, but even going along anywhere in your process, I think a lot of times as artists, we settle for inspiration as our form of generating art. I mean, like that's just gonna get us to go. It's like we need some sort of spark to say but like when you really want to get to the highest level of something, you have to sit down and say, I am writing a rap song today. I am writing a poem today, and I'm gonna. It might just be an experiment. Like, Kendrick is one of those artists, and there's a lot. Jay-Z's one of those guys. Not some. He is. Yeah, Jay-Z's a guy like that. Drake is absolutely a guy like this, and I'm not even the hugest Drake fan. But the example I'm using is when Kendrick goes to make an album. One, oftentimes he's not starting out trying to make an album.
Yeah.
But 2, let's just say even in the process of making an album, let's say he starts today and the album comes out in 4 years. In those 4 years, he'll record 200 songs.
Yeah.
You hear 13. You know what I mean? Max. You might hear 20.
Mm-hmm. That's like when you hear Lil Wayne. That's to me, that's my number one. That's my favorite rapper of all time. You hear Lil Wayne talk about when he goes into the studio. He's like, I'm in the studio for 6-7 hours, and we're recording 200-300 songs.
Yeah.
And he's like, and all these songs, he goes, they just go. He's like, I won't even put them out. He's like, I'll just record them just to have them.
Yeah,
then they just sit on all this music.
It is. I mean, and there's every artist, really good artist has just tons of music they'll never put out for a number of reasons. One, going back to my point about experimentation, right? Kendrick will, I can't say this from experience. I haven't been in the studio with him, but I know Kendrick is a guy who'll say, I want to do a rap song where I do this type of flow. I want to invent a new flow.
I would love to hear all these rappers put out like a mixtape of all the fuck around tracks.
Yeah. I'm gonna go in the studio. I'm gonna just do a weird voice. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you think, I want to sing on this one.
You don't develop that skill
I want to
without
rap in
practicing
German.
it. Yeah, you got to do a bunch of and sometimes as an artist or somebody observing an artist, like, this is dog shit. This is he's just wasting time. He's not wasting time. He's developing the skill. He's developing the confidence to do this. He's developing. He's getting the cobwebs out. It's like sometimes you just got to go in the studio and just record a song. And it's like, this is nothing. You know what I mean? This is not.
Yeah,
no one ever heard that today. And like, this is just to get the ball rolling and to exercise that muscle. You know what I mean? Because like, you're like, oh, you know, none of that is good, but there's one line I liked in here, and that's like, you know what? That's going to be the hook to this song now. You know what I mean? Yeah. I recorded 3 verses, 16 bars apiece, so that's 48 bars. And all I got was this, and that's worth it to me as an artist. That's worth it to me because and then like now I can build a song off of that, and I'm already the wheels are greased. I'm feeling good. Yeah. I'm in the studio. Let's go again. You know what I mean? And he's gonna keep going. And then when you do that, then you start to be able to say like, I'm gonna be intentional about this song. How can I? And it starts to become more natural too. It's like you sometimes do a double entendre without even trying, or triple entendre, or like this. Oh wow, he was telling a story in this whole verse. Like each verse was different, and I didn't even. You know what I mean? But you gotta be so serious about this. It's like, I think a lot of rappers, because rap for people in the inner city is like a way out.
Yep.
That produces a lot of those rappers like, oh, this is just a way for me to make money. Yeah. They don't care about it in the same way. You know what I mean? And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. But like, true artistry comes from like, I'm treating this like Eminem. I think I don't love Eminem all the time, and I think over the last few years, Eminem has become actually pretty bad.
Oh, I did research. I did extensive research on this. If you look at his album sales from the Eminem show, the Marshall Mathers update, it's been a steady decline since that. Like he peaked there, and it's just everything's been steadily going down. And I personally haven't liked a lot of Eminem after the Marshall Mathers LP. Like there's a couple of good songs here and there, but like he started off like using rap as a way to get out of his shitty situation, and then he got the money. And now he's kind of just there for the hell of it.
Well, so yeah, I'm gonna actually get to that. I'm gonna say this part about Eminem, and then I'm gonna get back to that point, which is Eminem. They talk about, I think it was Big Sean or somebody, and he was saying he went to the studio with Eminem, and he said Eminem was there when he got there. He said, I went to the studio like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and Eminem was there, and he said, and at 5 o'clock Eminem left the studio, and he was like, where are you going? He's like, I'm going home, and he was like, he talked to his engineer. He's like, what is he like? What was that about? And he's like, Eminem got here at 9 o'clock in the morning. And he's leaving at 5. And he's treating this like this is his job. This is not like, oh, I'm strolling. It's I got 6 of my homies with me. We're smoking weed. We're drinking. Yeah. And some people, that's the process that works for them. Like, to me, like this is, I'm very intentional about the hours I set in the studio, and I'm treating it when I'm in the studio. I'm here for this. And that's what has one of the things that allowed Eminem to become very good. But I think what makes Eminem tough to listen to now is that Eminem is at the point where he is rapping for the sake of rapping. Yeah. No other reason.
There's no. And he's not saying anything.
And there's
just talking.
There can be a value to that, but there has to be another level. Like all Eminem's best work. I think there's value in stuff like Relapse, Recovery. I don't love both of those albums, but there's very good songs
out there.
And the intention of those albums were good because he's coming from a place, like a real place. You know? But now Eminem, like I want to just say white fans, but white Eminem fans love that song Rap God that he put out that song
my
stinks.
God, it's a terrible song. All he did was talk really fast, but when he talked fast, he said nothing.
And but I hate that for Eminem because I think Eminem has become one of the most not underrated, but undervalued contributors to hip hop history because of what he's done to his own legacy. Because Eminem is that fucking good. Like he is like all the shit that people like. I hear a lot of battle rappers say this a lot of times, and a lot of fans say this like, Eminem's not as good as so and so. Like, or so and so is just as good. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh, I heard Black Thought do that too. It's like, well, you think Black Thought is one of the best rappers in the world, right? And Eminem also did that same thing. So if you think this guy is good, why is this guy not good if he did the same thing? Or they say like, Eminem does the same thing, which is true a lot now. But I think for a long time, Eminem was a guy who was doing shit with flow, with cadence, with
saying outlandish things.
But even there was that shit too, like the shock value of it. But also like his the pockets he would get in, and like his multi-syllabic rhyme schemes were just out of this fucking world. I was watching this video and it was like it's one of those like YouTube what they call them, slides or like the little short videos.
Yeah.
And it was like Cassidy was saying exactly what I'm saying about how Eminem like don't be doing it like he's like people was going crazy like that's what's the name of the song? But like when Eminem was like I sit back with this bag because zigzags and just bag. But, like, but he's like that's not. He's just using the same syllable. But it's like, but listen to what he's fucking saying. He's telling a story. Like he's able to use that exact same. You know how difficult it is to use. Like first of all, rapping is much harder than people give it credit because it's right. It seems like very childish. You know what I mean? But it's like to be able to rhyme and tell a coherent story only using that syllable, like that vowel
to
sound.
have like these bars rhyming on a certain flow with a certain cadence, making sure that you have the same inflection on the same part of the same sounding word every single time. It's not easy.
It's not at all. And then
I think people's a big issue because I know like growing up like my older family members were not into like rap. They're like, oh, they don't play instruments. It's not real talent. And I'm like, yeah, I think they can get away with not playing instruments when they're coming up with these insane fucking rhymes. And shit like
fucking John Lennon can't do this, and I love the Beatles. But it's like Paul McCartney can't do this.
John Lennon don't got bars.
Yeah, and one of these like just because this guy can do this thing doesn't make him better. Like there's tons of people who can play an instrument who don't make good music. You know what I mean? And it's like also I think like producers. I'm gonna go back to Eminem in a second, but producers, dude, like a great hip hop producer is like especially someone like someone who can create a beat out of nothing is awesome. But I think like music purists for a long time underrated what the value of sampling. Like when I'm sure you've seen those videos where it's like behind the sample type of thing. It's like he shows you how this beat was. It's like how the fuck did RZA hear this sound and this fucking song and then build an entire and especially when it's like they took 3 different songs, and it's like, I took this little part of this song, I took this little part of this song, I took this little part of this song, I took these drums, and I put it together, and I made a fucking beautiful piece of music. But like, if you sat down and gave me those 4, I would have not even. First of all, I don't even hear that sound. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's like so often, like early in hip hop, a lot of it was like just taking the break beat from a disco song. So it's like just the drum. You know what I mean, it's like okay, we're gonna loop that. But then they started to do like they would just find like just a section of a song like you wouldn't even like have picked it up as like unique or interesting.
Yeah.
They hear that and think like, I can build an entirely new like that's so valid. Like,
that's like I don't know if you've seen the clip of Wyclef on Drink Champ, and he's talking about coming up with the guitar part for Maria Maria.
Yeah. And
how it's from Cream.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
and like I was like, how did I not know this? Because I was like, how the fuck did I not hear this? But then like to hear Nori be like, yo, take my hip hop card away because I could not hear that. Like that's insane that he heard that guitar part and then he turned it into this entirely new. Like he took one iconic piece of music and then turned it into another entirely iconic piece of music
that's the thing
that
too.
Went and has been sampled again. So it's sampled the same. Like it's awesome.
That's exactly it too, which makes it so impressive. It's like it's not only that you took this and created a new thing. You created a new thing that stands as
its own thing next to the original thing.
In a lot of cases, like surpasses the original thing. You know what I mean?
I'm going to see Santana at the end of July. I'm so excited.
Amazing.
I can't wait. He's coming to Bridgeport, and like we were looking at tickets, and they're so expensive, and we were like, I'm gonna go because this could be the last time.
Right.
This could be the last chance.
But there's a ton of artists where I'm like, I wish I would like David Bowie. I wish I would have saw him before he died. Prince.
A friend who saw
Michael
Prince.
Jackson.
I think my friend saw Prince twice.
That's awesome.
At Madison Square Garden. And I'm like, man, that's fucking cool. He never got to see Michael, but he saw Prince, and I'm like, you know what? I think I can. If that was me, I think I could die happy.
Yeah,
having seen Prince twice,
yeah,
and then not seeing Michael, but knowing that I lived during Michael.
Yeah, that sort of balances out. Like, I didn't see Michael, but I saw Prince twice. Okay, just going back to like the Eminem thing. It's just like I think about his verse on "Patiently Waiting" is so fucking good. Like, don't let me lose you. I'm just trying to confuse you. And he does the fucking sound of the like. Yep. It's so good. Like, I think a lot of people who are like Eminem detractors, and again, I'm not even the biggest Eminem fan, but I think he is that good. And I think a lot of people, one, because he's white, people hate on it because they think he's only that popular because he's white, which is true. It's a big reason why he's that popular because most rappers who rap with that same sort of like hip hop purist sort of like lyrical miracle flow will never get that big. So him being white is a big part of it, but I do think he had to overcome a lot by being like he talked like 8 Miles a lot about this, and like a lot of rappers from Detroit and from that era would say like no, like we would Eminem would go like he was taking all comers. He would go to any place, any hood, and he would battle anybody, and we all have the same thing. We always would put our best rappers like, oh, that's the best guy, this fucking white boy, and we would he would smoke every single one of them every time. He's like he's that like because the thing about Eminem is he really does love hip hop. Like like even on Patiently Waiting, he's like think some big and some boggy, like that's who he thinks. That's like those are, I mean.
I think my favorite Eminem verse is "Bad Meets Evil." I think he just went insane on that album. I hate that the Bad Meets Evil album wasn't that great because I compared it to that song because like you can't end the song with "See You in Hell" for the sequel and then "Hell" the sequel comes out and it's not even half as good as the song. I do like some of that album though. Like the problem with that album is that like Eminem and Royce have that same thing where they're like. They like rapping so much that they just say a bunch of bullshit a lot of time, and it's like, sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's really good, and sometimes it's like, I don't know, man. Like I don't want to hear a song. But like Eminem has this, I'd say this verse to myself. It's like, catch me in my Mercedes, but when I slice, baby, screaming shady till I die. Like I have a paradise, like crazy. Like the flow he's doing on that shit is so fucking good, but. Again, it's his own fault that he does so much bullshit like Rap God or like he has this is rapper Belly not Belly what the fuck is his name? Now I can't think of his name. But he has this he's signed to Eminem. I can't think of I don't know why I can't. Oh, Boogie, yeah. Westside Boogie. He signed to Eminem, put out this album. He has an Eminem feature on the album because he signed to Eminem. He of course looked at the feature, and the song is very good. And then Eminem comes on, and it's like, are you trying to like tank this out? Like why would you do that? It's so. That's how I felt about. I'm gonna keep talking. I'm gonna pull up the verse. There's just so many bad lines. Eminem did that song. It came out after Juice WRLD died. Was it Godzilla? And like you have my thing is, Eminem put this song out, right? And he has Juice WRLD, who at the time was one of the most popular rappers on the planet, right before he died, even after his death, like. Juice WRLD was everywhere. But, like, Eminem on Godzilla, I believe, has 3 verses. There's 3 verses on this. Nuts. And all Juice WRLD does is have the hook. And I'm like, bro, you couldn't give the most popular young rapper on the planet right now who would have probably done well on this album. Yeah. A whole verse. That's like on his, that surprise album he dropped, the best verse on the entire album was Joyner Lucas. Mm-hmm. Joyner Lucas bodied that beat. He out-rapped Eminem on his own album, and he did better than M on every other song on that album, that one verse on that song. I think the song was called Lucky You. Yeah. But he went fucking insane on that song. Dude, let me read you this verse. Okay. It's, like, there's at least 4 of some of the worst bars I've ever heard, and it's all in one verse. And this is a feature on your artist's album. You know how much this would mean to him on his album. You want to give him the heat. He says, I left my legacy hurt. Fucking absurd. Like a shepherd having sex with his sheep. Fuck what you heard. All this talk in my ear. I got an idea.
like a clerk when you're trying to buy beer. I got an idea like a clerk when you're trying to buy beer. This is what you put on your artist album. He says,
Jesus Christ.
Rockabye, Michael, fuck it out to years. Marshall's dead in the water, not that I care. Dre said rock the boat, and Doc is my peer. Like, come on, man.
But the problem is Eminem stands here this and they're like, nah, you just don't understand the word.
Yes, and then
you don't understand the word.
And as Boogie, you're like, you know what? I hate this verse, but you're Eminem, you're my boss, and you're Eminem, the legend. So like, what am I saying? No,
we just gotta start holding these rappers accountable.
We do.
And you know what I think we fucked up? We fucked up when we let Weezy get away with Weezy F Baby and the F is for Phenomenal. When no one checked them and no one said, hey, that's a P, I think we fucked up as society.
I like that bar because I think that is tongue in cheek. I think he's being funny, but I think a lot of Wayne would never say like, I'm just joking around. You know what I mean? Like, so I think then I think you're right in the sense that like by not calling that out, it gives people who are like Lil Wayne detractors like this fucking guy doesn't even know
Yeah.
Like I think it is a joke. You know what I mean? I've always said that bar.
I think it was. I love that bar.
I'm sorry. Just a couple more lines. It's just really bad. He says you're tripping off a tryptophan in Switzerland just for asking to autograph a picture, then ripped it in half and whipped it at him and kicked his ass all the way back to Michigan. But no matter how many rounds or if I get knocked down in a bout and fell to the ground, I got a fighter's mentality. I'll get back up and fight with it. In fact, I'm attacking the mic with it. I'll make a sound like a vampire's biting it. But I'd have to be Dracula's sidekick to be down for the count.
What the fuck?
Like, come on, dog. I'd have to be Dracula's sidekick to be down for the count. That's one of what I call, battle rappers do this a lot of times. It's what I call 8th grade bars. Which is like, if you were in like 5th grade, 6th grade, and you were rapping for your English teacher, you'd be like, oh, that's pretty clever. Oh, down for the count, like Dracula's, like in your classmates, you'd be like, because like you have never heard anything.
That would get you. You'd probably get somebody would buy you lunch if you spit that in the morning on the buses.
Yeah,
like you'd get free lunch.
That would be easy. Like if you rap that for a teacher, they'd be like, oh my god, you should do poetry. You know what I mean? That's
why I love. There's a guy on TikTok who he just makes fun of Eminem, like in everyday situation.
Yeah, that guy's fucking hilarious.
And he has the hoodie on.
Yeah.
Oh my god, my little brother's a huge Eminem fan. So I send him these videos. He goes, bro, this isn't even funny.
It's
hilarious. This is exactly what Eminem sounds like. That's why, like, when him and MGK had that beef, and MGK was like, yo, all you do is read the dictionary and sit inside. And he's like, that's not even a diss. I'm like, that is.
It is
because he's not doing nothing. So he raps about just words.
If he was so Lupe Fiasco might be my favorite rapper.
Yep.
Love Lupe. I think he might be one of the most talented rappers there. I think he's so good. But Lupe has this thing called he created this organization called SOSA, Society of Spoken Art, where he basically takes a lot of rappers and they it's just about rap. Like it's like they break down raps. They do a lot of freestyling. It's like a academy of rap. You know what I mean? And they do a lot of shit that like they might do something like hey, we go in the dictionary and give me just B bars. Give me D bars. You know what I mean? Just give me. I mean, but they're doing that to strengthen their skills. They're not putting these songs out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think
just to be able to have the
it's to build. Yeah,
to be able to do it. So when you're writing a song, you can be like, oh, it'd be really dope here if I did an alliteration bar and just did a bunch of B stuff here. But you're not sitting there writing, going in the studio, and you're like the bees buzzing, like
and it's like and let's say you do put a song out like that. You put out a song like that every once in a while. It's like, oh, this is a little curiosity that you did.
Yeah.
This is a unique.
Always trying something different about what an artist.
Yeah, this is once in a while. You know what I mean? But that's pretty much the entirety of his output now, and it's so boring, dude. It's so boring.
It's like, dude, we get it.
Like, you ever heard Alphabetical Slaughter by Papoose?
Probably.
It's exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah.
He does a song where this is like 2006. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Papoose, that is peak.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And he's just going through the alphabet.
He's like it's DJ K Slay's like, yo, my man Papoose is going to spit some bars for you. It's called Alphabetical Slaughter. You know what I mean? For every letter you hear screamed out, he's going to do a whole verse about it. And at the time, I was like, this is the coolest thing I ever heard. Yeah. And then as time passed, I'm like, oh, this is dog. Like, it's not dog shit, but it's like, this is not that good. It is impressive in one sense. Yeah. But like, you get to a certain point.
I don't want to hear this all the time.
You don't want to hear it all the time. And at a certain point, he gets to certain levels. It's like, yo, he's actually not saying anything. Like, his first verse, A, is immaculate. Because it has sort of a... He's like, alert, assassins at large, allegedly, automatic artillery, angrily aimed and aggressively. He does not use a single letter that's not A. Accurate AKs angled all ways. Adversaries afraid of active ammunition to braze accumulated alias after arrested. Accompanies armed accessories as an adolescent. Yeah. It's like there's a sort of there's a flow to that. There's a story to that. Like you can, and then
it comes off like a news bulletin. Like you're reading like the news coming at you real fast.
And then you get to like, like W, way before W, but like you get to a K, and it's like now he's just saying K words that will eventually this bar will eventually rhyme. But it's like there's nothing to it now.
Yeah, anybody you're just saying all the words,
Like A, very impressive. Like, oh, you actually had to you picked out these words. It's very particular. Yeah. But as the letters get harder, and it goes it's like, well, you're not actually saying anything. You're just rhyming letters that start with K, and that's not cool. And it feels like that's all Eminem does now. It's like he has this thing. He talks like, people say there's nothing that rhymes with orange, but you can say like
oh my
more
God.
than or like it's like, but like that's all of your raps now. Like, it's like trying to find impossible rhymes, finding it's like there is a value to that, but it kind of sucks too because
it's like, dude, you're such a rap nerd. Shut up.
Yeah, it's like if there needs to be a second level to this that doesn't exist. That's not just rapping for the sake of rapping, because that's cool. You know what I mean? That's fun. I'm sure if you're just freestyling with your friends,
but you're
not gonna hold to the same.
He's just bored.
He absolutely is bored.
You gotta think he's not living life right now.
That's a huge part of it. As an artist, you have to
live life.
That's why, as a Kendrick fan, you don't obviously you want him to put out more music or put out music more frequently than he does, but you appreciate his music because when Kendrick is back, he's fucking back.
Yeah, you feel like you learn a lot about that life he lived in between albums.
Yeah, and he crafted a project that is influenced by the life he lived and it has a lot of intention behind it. Kendrick has never put out a throwaway project.
Yeah, you can always feel the passion and he believes in it, so you like it that much more because you also fuck with it.
Yeah, and it's one of those things I talk to people about this. A lot of people don't like art that doesn't spell itself out for you, right? Like people want a movie that has a mystery to tell you that at the end, this guy is the killer.
I like a movie where you got to watch it a couple times and you're like, oh, that's what's going on.
Yeah, and as an artist and just as a fan, when I was younger, maybe I would push back against a lot of stuff that I like now. But now I'm like, I like that you know the answer to this.
Yeah.
I might not know the answer. I might never know the answer to this. But if you make it with enough intention and you make it with enough quality, I want to know what it means. So I'll watch it again. Yeah. And again, I might never get the answer, but it makes me want to know. Some people don't like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I feel like Kendrick is an artist who you don't necessarily always understand what the metaphor is or whatever. But I know that you know. That's important because sometimes artists make it you don't actually know what this is. You don't know what it is, but you're trying to this is the big miss. This is bullshit. There's nothing behind this. Kendrick, there's always something behind it. Yeah. You might not think it's great. You might not think it's that clever. You might not know what it means, but he knows what it means, and that's what's important. You know what I'm saying? I think there's nothing more valuable than that. But I think Eminem's a guy no one's asking you to put out albums. You have enough money. You don't have to do this.
I don't know who's outside of Eminem stands. I don't know who's asking for more Eminem albums. And I don't even want features. If I'm being honest, I don't even want to hear a feature.
No, he actively ruins songs.
I think the last Eminem feature I liked might have been "Drop the World."
Yeah, I think that would probably be around that. I remember I know the last thing I really liked from Eminem. It wasn't even a song or a verse. I mean, I guess it's technically a verse. It was the Shady 2.0 cypher on the BT Hip Hop Awards in 2013 or 12 or something.
Is it the one in the garage?
It's the one in the garage where it's it's Slaughterhouse,
and
Yellow Wolf.
Yeah.
And he closes it out and he does that. He says, miracle, miracle. And he's and then he stops because that was a joke. And then he fucking goes into, you about to see Peace Destroy. You never be in the store. He went fucking crazy on that shit.
I remember.
That's the last time I was like, oh, Eminem is great. You know
I miss the Tim Westwood Eminem.
Yes.
I miss the mental retarded kid named Greg with a wooden leg beating him over the head.
Well, okay, and we've probably talked way too much about Eminem, but this is my last point on Eminem is Eminem never grew up. Yeah. That's the other huge problem with Eminem is that like when you were doing fucking Triumph, the comic dog voice, like those songs were not great, but it was fun. Especially like I was like early teens.
Oh yeah.
So it's like this is perfect.
Dude, when I was like 14, 15 and Eminem and a song started and Eminem was doing his stupid little voice, I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah, like this is fun. This is wacky. You know what I mean? But like he has that same level of like sophomoric humor.
Yeah.
But like, dude, you are almost 50. Like it's not cute anymore. Or like oh, he still does songs where he's like I'm gonna fuck Billie Eilish and on a pile of shit and Christina Aguilera, in my Acura.
It's one of those things. It's like, dude, why are you still mad?
Why are you still mad?
So
and why
angry?
do you? It's when you were like sort of like a young rapper who like coming from the fringes of society and like we're at the peak of like shitting on pop star. That was kind of cool. It was unique. No one else was doing that. It was fun. It does, like you said, it seems like, okay, you really are coming from a place of, like, true anger and, like,
now
hatred.
You're just a really angry old man.
Yeah, it's like, it's not cute, it's not fun, it's like, dude, this is a 20-year-old woman, get over it. Like, it's like, and we're also so far past the point in culture where, like, we're all shitting on, whatever, like, Britney Spears or whatever, it's like, because now
it's like Marshall, she needed help.
Yes, exactly.
Help.
We're at a point in culture where we're like, oh, like, why were we treating Britney Spears like that? Like, she didn't do anything wrong.
Why'd y'all make her shave her head and then get mad at her for shaving her head?
So then, like, you're still continuing on, and, like, Eminem is like the peak of the artist thing where it's like, I'm never going to do the thing you tell me to do. You know, like, which I do think is valuable in art when you're like, you shouldn't make art for anyone else's purpose, right? You should, even for your fans, like you shouldn't make art for your fans. You make art for yourself because your art, before you knew these fans, before you had any fans, they came to it because of what you brought to it, not because of what you were doing for them. You know what I mean? And when you start making art for other people, you sort of lose yourself in the music the moment you know it. You gotta never let it go. No, but you lose what they came to you for. I think, but Eminem, you can also go too far into that shit where you're like, no, sometimes, like, you shouldn't say that word, man. Like, we don't say that anymore. He's like, no, I'm gonna say it because, or like, we don't make fun of pop stars like that because it's not funny.
I'm gonna do it.
I'm still doing it because, like being a contrarian, like, when you first start out, it's fun. Perfect example of this. One of my favorite artists of all time. One of the most amazing evolutions and of any artist I've ever seen is Tyler the Creator. He's the perfect example of this. Tyler the Creator starts out hugely influenced by Eminem, hugely influenced by shock value shit.
To go from his what was that? What's that first song? Yonkers.
Yeah, to go from
Yonkers to Flower Boys. It's crazy.
It doesn't even make sense that this is the same guy.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, but it's
a good transition.
It's the best transition
because I don't feel the way about Tyler that I do about Eminem. Like, I'm not tired of Tyler.
But again, Tyler grew up. You know what I mean? Yeah. When Tyler first came out, dude.
Yeah, if Tyler was still doing Loiter Squad shit, I don't think I'd like it.
Yeah, it's like a lot of his fans sometimes.
Did you watch Loiter Squad?
I love Loiter Squad.
Isn't it weird seeing Jasper in like real movies?
Yes, it is. All of them. It's like
no one else is like alarmed by it. But I'm like, no, that's Taco. What the fuck is Taco
why
doing?
Why is Ryan on the bear?
What the fuck is happening?
It's wild. It's like, especially like if you're a person who never watched it, you don't know about Aquaman. Yeah. It's just like, oh, this is a new fun kid. No, that's Taco.
No, that's fucking Taco.
Yeah, his name is not Travis.
Yeah, no,
his name is
not
Taco.
Normal.
Yeah, but when Tyler Outreach first came out, it was like he'd go on interviews and he would be like doing a baby voice or like jumping around like not answering the questions, being a fucking teenager, being a fucking brat, being like this is weird. I'm gonna go on
with the little Mexican girl at the club.
Yeah.
And he's like, my daughter Esmeralda, she can speak English. That's not my name. He's like, shut up, Esmeralda.
But it's like, if Tyler still thought that shit was just as funny as he did when he's like, he's a little older than me. He's like, I think he's 31 or 32.
Yeah.
If
yeah,
say he was when he was 18, if he still thought it was 14 years later, 13, 14 years later, it's like, no, this is like, why haven't you grown up? And like, Tyler was like, big proponent of saying, kill people, burn shit, fuck school, say whatever we want, do whatever the fuck we want. Nobody can tell me what to do. And I don't think he still has a lot of that in his music. You even still hear him like, I'm not going to do what you tell me to do.
Yeah.
But he also grew up and recognized like, hey,
I'm gonna show you how to do this the right way.
I'm sure I do this the right way. I don't say that shit anymore. You know what I mean? Like, that's not, because you know what? That's not who I am anymore. Earl Sweatshirt did that first too. He was like, yo, like I remember when Earl was like, he was like the whole free Earl shit. And he came in, he's like, I don't do that shit. No, I don't stand by any of that shit anymore. And I don't hate it necessarily because I was a kid and like I get it, because people like when you get older, like kids are gonna be kids. You know what I mean? But like you think like, oh, that's not who I am anymore. I can do this other thing. I want to do this other thing. I want to expand my.
I don't want to be pigeonholed.
Yeah, I don't want to be pigeonholed. And that's not, I don't think I have to keep doing that shit just because it was successful before, or like that's what like. I was 19 years old. I was 7. Earl was the youngest. He was like, he was 15, 16.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Like as an artist, if you come out right, like Earl came out when he's 14. That was in what 2009.
Yeah.
9-ish. So from 2009 to 2023, you're still doing the same thing as an artist. That's
it's pathetic.
Crazy.
It doesn't make any sense.
You should be changing. You should be evolving. Like I know I listen to a lot of like rock music, and I know it's one of the things where like when a band comes back and they change their sound, you hate it. You're like, oh, why'd they do it? But it's like if they kept doing the same thing, they're just going to get stagnant.
Yeah, they would get stale, and they would have hit the peak of like what like let's say they put out an album that sounds like this. They put out the second album that sounds like this. You like the first album. You like the second album because you like the first album. And it's like you might have gotten a little bit better songwriting. You got a little bit better production, and it's still good. You like it a lot. You might even like it better than the first album. Yep. But if you put out a third album that's exactly the same,
thing.
I still like it somewhat, but I'm not excited about it. You know what I mean? And like you have to, even sometimes if you struggle with like the new sound, it gives you something to be excited about. Because like, oh, I never heard this before. Like, oh, they're trying something. Like they're pushing themselves. And there's plenty of times where it doesn't work for an artist. They tried something new, and it took them a while to get it right, or it just, this isn't their. But I like, especially once you have the cachet, the cultural cachet, the money, whatever, to say like, hey, I was just talking to my brother about this. I was like, Kendrick's last album, Mr. Morale, not his. Most people not their favorite Kendrick album.
Yeah.
I love the album, and I also appreciate the album as an artist because that's the first album where Kendrick was like, well, it's not the first album. It's a continuation of Kendrick's thing where it's like, every time I come out, I'm a new artist. I'm not, there's Kung Fu Kenny, there's, Good Kid, Mad City Kenny. Like, there's always going to be a version of me. But it's the first album Kendrick's put out where it's like, this isn't as refined as my other shit. You know what I mean? It's like, this is the first album where I was like, I can see that there were probably 15, 30, 100 different versions of this album that he was putting together, and this is the one he landed on for whatever reason. I don't know what that is, but it's like, because he has that like sort of like the therapy sort of through line through it, but it doesn't actually continue through the whole album. It's sort of like disappears at some point and comes back. Whereas on his other albums, it was very consistent. Like on Damn, he has the, y'all know what happens when Earth stays on Earth. You know what I mean? To Pimp a Butterflies, I remember you was conflicted, the Tupac thing. Obviously we got good Kid, Mad City, the skits with the whole van and everything. This album is like there's not as a consistent. It's a little bit more scatterbrained. It's a little bit less organized. It's a little less. It feels a little bit less intentional. It also feels more intentionally messy, politically and artistically than anything he's done before. I think that's intentional. I think he was like, like this is where I'm at in my life. I'm in a transitional phase. I'm leaving TDE. I'm trying to start my own label. I'm doing stuff with Baby Keem that's different. I want to try different flows. I want to try different sounds. And it's one of those things where he's like, I have at least, I have 3 classes by most people's standard. I can afford to do this. And why wouldn't I do this? Why wouldn't I try something new?
Everyone should go for their Ziggy Stardust. Because it might hit.
Yes.
Who knows?
Yeah, it's like if David Bowie kept doing the shit he was doing on his first album, you wouldn't even know who the guy's name.
Yeah. And
Bowie is a guy, he's maybe my favorite artist of all time.
He's transcended his genre. He's just an artist. And
he has long periods of his career where he was putting out just absolute shit. Like the shit. Prince is another guy. Prince is another guy who's like he's a legendary figure. He puts out great music, and it's a period of his career like this is not very good. But he was trying shit, and then
if you want to be successful in any avenue of art,
you can't be afraid.
Be it comedy or music or I do a lot of stuff with like wrestling. Like you have to not be afraid to try something new. Because it could suck. It could blow up in your face and it could not work. But it also could just be the one thing that's missing from whatever it is you're doing.
And when you truly like start to internalize what art is, you recognize that like, and this is not even just applicable to art, it's applicable to whole life. Like it doesn't have like I don't know who said this. I heard it on something recently. I can't remember who said it. Like, failure should not be like a complete sentence. You know, like it's like that's just one. Like I mean, you learn from failure. Sometimes you fail at something, and then again, the same thing I was talking about. Like when an artist makes 1,000 songs, they just take this one bar from that song. You can get something out of it. Like you might say, like, oh, this whole persona wasn't working. But what I was thinking about, like that outfit I was wearing, that inspired me to do this thing, or like that album didn't work, but like that persona works. I'm gonna use that persona. I'm gonna change the music. I'm making it around it. You know what I mean? Like you find something, or you say, you know what? Like okay, now you just what if it's just complete failure? None of it works. None of it's worthwhile to you. You at least say, you know what? I can't do that. That's the thing I don't get. Now I know that's not my avenue. That's not my direction. I'm gonna go somewhere else. But it's not a waste of time. You have to treat it as a learning opportunity. You know what I mean? And I think Bowie is a guy, my favorite artist at that, because like, some point in the 80s and 90s, early 2000s, like, this is really bad, man. Like, but he's not afraid to do it, and he like because I am David Bowie, motherfucker. I can do this shit. Who gives a fuck? You know what
are you gonna do?
Like, it's like because
what are you gonna not listen to? I don't care.
All the motherfuckers who are like making fun, like not even like making fun of this shit, but like there's plenty of artists who are out now who would probably make fun of where I'm at right now. Yeah. They don't have a Ziggy Stardust. They don't have a Hunky Dory. They don't have none of that shit. You know what I mean? I have those shit and I can afford to do. Like, why wouldn't I try some new shit? Why would I just make Ziggy Stardust Part 2? That's bullshit. I
feel like you carry a lot of that in your comedy. Like the way you are on stage. Like you're just there having fun. You're just having a good time. Like,
I try to have fun because dude, when I started comedy, comedy's the first thing in my life that I really, really, really took seriously. Like, I was always a smart kid, always well-read, but I was always I could get by on being smart, on being funny, on being charismatic, where it's like, I never worked hard in school. And I was able to get good grades up until junior year of high school. I got pretty much straight A's and B's without really trying because I was that smart. Because I've never been able to study, dude. I've never part of it is ADHD and part of it is like I think I got it. You know what I mean? So
I'm pretty good at retaining information.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, I can get an A on this test or write this paper in a day. Like let's say in college they would say, hey, start of the semester, they say, hey, you got your midterm is a paper.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now in August that this paper is going to be due in November. I start the paper in November, 3 days before it's due, and I can get an A because I know what the fuck I'm doing.
Yeah.
But that's not a sustainable. I remember in high school, one of my favorite teachers of all time, she failed me in her class. I never did any homework. I never did homework my whole life. But like a lot of teachers were like, you know what? He gets great grades on the test. He always participates in class.
Homework's like 10% of your grade, so what's a B?
Yeah. He always participates in class. He knows the shit, but he's not doing the work. but I know he can do the work, so I would get the benefit of the doubt sometimes. They're like, you know what? I don't care about the homework. This kid's my best student. I'm gonna give him an A, or I'm gonna give him, I'm not gonna drop his grade that much.
Yeah.
This teacher, like, I wasn't doing the work. I was one of her best students. She said, you know what? I'm gonna fail you. And she sent me to summer school, and she was like, I'm doing this for you because you have to know that, like, you can't just coast by on, like, being, someone's favorite student or just I know you know this shit, but school is not about knowing this shit. It's about showing me that you know this shit. Showing, like, I have if I gave you an A and then I get, like, audited, and they're like, why does this student have an A and he hasn't done any work? You know what I mean? That reflects on, like, it's not just about you, and it's also not just about, like it looks bad on me. Yeah, it's also like you got to prove that you know. It's not. You have to do the work. You have to prove that I'm doing a good fucking job. Yeah, you have to apply yourself for your sake. You have to apply yourself. Comedy is the first thing I took seriously, dude. I used to write jokes within an inch of its life, dude. Like, I would have jokes that ended up being 2 lines of, like, just like set up punchline that were 8 pages in a notebook of just writing, just squeezing the life out of this shit. And a lot of it was a hat on a hat. It was like, oh, this is the same joke. I'm just saying this. Like, I mean, you just talked to me for, like, over an hour. You know that I talk too much, and I also go over the same point sometimes, like 2 or 3 times, because that's just how my brain works. I'm like, I'm still sort of working through it, and, like, I'm like, I don't realize, like, this person already got the point, but I'm still saying it again because that's just how I'm, that's my process. Yeah. So I would do that in a joke, like, just every version of it, like, every fucking, I'm just like, this is, it's like, this is just a punchline again. You don't need this part. But it would take me to write the hell out of a joke. I would get on stage and I would basically recite it as it was in my notebook directly, and I was very stiff, I was very wooden, and I was very, like, tied to the writing. I've always been a writer. My whole life I've always been a writer. Yeah. And, like, I didn't know how to perform. You know what I mean? I was so, like had no stage presence. I thought I was very funny. Again, like I said before, it's funny for where I was at the time, but, like, obviously if I look back, like, that kid's not that funny. You know what I mean? But for, doing for 6 months, for a year, very good. But, like, I was too focused on the writing of it and too focused on, like, getting it exactly how I saw in my head. And certain comics I, like, look up to or, like, worked with, like, Dan Cowlick, I've seen him go on stage and just ramble bullshit. It's one of my favorite things to just see him go up on stage and just talk to people. Yeah, just and nothing. And it's never like, okay, like, you see, people might see crowd work stuff online where it's like, hey, I'm talking. Somebody shouts out something current event, or I ask this person, it's your birthday? If you're talking about birthday shit, I'm making fun of you. Cowlick will go. I've seen one time I did a show. Cowlick did a show, and he was asking people what their favorite type of beans were. Yeah. And it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. He just go and then it's very weird. It's very, like, he never goes where you think he's gonna go. Yeah, exactly that, dude. Yeah, he's like, you're not a pinto guy. And he's not gonna let, like, if somebody, most comics, okay, I'm talking to an audience member, they're not really feeling me. I'm gonna make fun of them, I will move on to another person, or I'm gonna just, like, hammer down, like, oh, why don't you like it? Cowlick will just keep asking them questions, like, he's gonna get something, he's gonna find you. Get you. And he has no fear on stage of, like, he's so confident in his funny that it doesn't matter what happens. Yeah. You know what I mean? He's like, I also think it translates, like, his likableness translates from off stage to on stage. Like, he gets on and just so likable off rip. Yes. That you're just like, whatever. I'm here for the ride. He is so carefree and fun. Yeah. It's palpable, and it's like, you know what? I'll go along with whatever this guy's saying for a little bit, because I'm down. You know what I mean? Like, he seems like a chill guy, and he also seems like there's nothing mean spirited about his shit. But anyway, Cowboy's gonna go. Nothing mean spirited. Cowboy's one of those guys, like, he inspires me. He's like, I feel like, a lot of times he's like, oh, who's your biggest influence? Like, Patrice O'Neal is my favorite comic of all time. Yeah. It's a lot of influence of Patrice in my shit, but, like, I think the 2 biggest influences on my comedy are Dame FK, Dan Cowlick, because those are the people I'm around the most in comedy. Those are my 2 best friends in comedy. Yeah. And there's people I want to make laugh more than anything. And there's people I find myself stealing from them all the time. You know, not intentionally, but it's like, oh, that's a Dameism. You know, that's a like Cowlick, you find yourself like saying stuff. Like, you're on stage one day and you're like, what kind of buttons you got on that shirt? Yeah, exactly. Or Cowlick always he used to always do this thing. He still does it. But it's like, if he's going through a set and he's like going to the next. He's like, what else? You know what I mean? Like,
Oh,
I do that all the time. You know what I mean?
I love that.
But so being around those guys, like Cal White taught me so much, and Dame specifically, like Dame, one of my best friends in the world, and I will ride for Dame for my whole life because Dame was the first person to really tell me like, yo, you are so much better. Like I always thought I was very good. I always thought I was very good. He's like, you're better than you even think you are, and you have to really, you gotta do it though. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta like the shit. One, the shit that you think is important is not important. Yeah. And two, you have to like, if you apply yourself, like you really could be like that fucking good.
Beat some shit.
And like dude, Dame is. I really think I don't use this word like I think he's a comedy genius, dude. Like Dame will call me sometimes, and he'll like let's just do a double joke. He's like, who are you working on? And I'll tell him my jokes. I'll tell him a bunch of shit I'm working on. I wrote this joke. Tell him doesn't laugh. And I'm like, you know what? That's actually not that funny. He'll tell me a list of jokes, like 12 different jokes that he just came up with. Funniest thing I've ever heard. He'll never use the jokes. He's just that.
Does it.
And he understands the structure of. I wish I could remember the joke because it was this. It was one of the most impressive things I've ever seen. Dame said something to me, and he said a joke to me. We were in a conversation, and he's like, "You will get that in 2 minutes." And we're talking, and then 2 minutes later, I'm sitting there, I just start dying, and he's like, "Yep." And I was like, "How the fuck did you do?" Like he no, I never met somebody who understands the structure of comedy as well. And like he would like sort of drill me on that. He's like, "Look, that's not the best punchline you can come up with. Like you fucking half-ass that shit." And as I got better, as I got more confident, I was like, you know what, I am good. And I heard, like, I remember Bill Burr, I was listening to Bill Burr, and he said, like, I write on stage. You know what I mean? I write on stage. I have, bullet points, and he's like, almost all the best comics do that. It was like, trust that you're funny. You know what I mean? You have an idea, and you have to be patient, and you can't panic. You know what I mean? Because one of the things why it's hard to write on stage is you go on stage, you have a premise, you spit out the premise immediately, and then it might get a laugh, it might not, but you don't have anything else. Yeah. So instantly, your brain is like, "Oh shit, I don't have nothing else. I'm afraid." So I'm either gonna do a disclaimer like, "Oh, that's a new one," or I'm gonna say like, "I got nothing else for the anime, and I'm gonna move on." Yeah. Or you can be confident that you're funny and find it right then on stage. Like sit with her and talk it out. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's one of the things you don't get the privilege of doing when you first start. You actually do have the privilege, but you don't notice it. Yeah. When you first start out doing comedy, and the first few years of comedy, you're like, every show to you is the utmost importance. You know what I mean? Like, oh, this might be the show where so and so sees me. Yeah. I can't. And you're like, oh, I got these 5 minutes. I gotta make them fucking count. You gotta make them count. You gotta make there's this some sort of hypothetical like booker or executive in the audience that you're like, I have to impress this person. I have to and like that person doesn't exist. He's not there, and it has happened for people. There's plenty of people like Nate Bargatze's a guy. He was doing a show. He's doing a set at the Stand one time. Who happens to be in the audience? Jimmy Fallon. Jimmy Fallon loves him. He fucking sort of takes him under his wing. He gets him a development deal at NBC. Yep. Guy blows up. He's one of the best comics working now. One of the biggest comics working now. But like that doesn't happen for most comics. No. It's over time. You know what I mean? You might need a manager or executive at a show, but oftentimes it's not like, hey, you're the funniest guy I ever met. Off to the races. Come on, let's go. You're going to Netflix right now. Like that's happened with Chris Rock. Chris Rock. I think he's in the line for an audition or something at for the Comic Strip Live or something. Eddie Murphy finds him and says like, "Oh, this kid's funny," and he fucking puts him in Beverly Hills Cop 3, and he takes off. It's still a few years before he becomes like the biggest stand-up on the planet, but that's just how he started. But that's so rare. Anyway, my point is, you have to treat every chance on stage as a chance to get better, more than anything in the world. This is an opportunity to get better. And that means you have to try new shit, you have to try different ways of doing shit, you have to push yourself. And one of those things, like when you first start out, is like you feel like you don't have the privilege to say like, Bill Burr can write on stage because like he already has the built-in cachet of saying, when I walk on stage, everybody in this building came to see Bill Burr. Yeah. And Jerry Seinfeld just he's like, when I walk on stage, the first few jokes I tell, they're gonna get a laugh because I'm Jerry Seinfeld. This isn't that funny, but I'm Jerry Seinfeld. They came, they want to laugh. They want to laugh. Mm-hmm. But after a certain point, I still have to be funny. But like when you're a big time comic, you can use that privilege.
You have a little leeway.
You have that leeway, and you can say like, you know what, I'll try a new joke and I'll just talk it out, and I can, at the worst come to worst, I'll fall back on my better shit. Mm-hmm. But I have the privilege to do this, so why not do it? But Chris Rock does this thing, and it's so this is his process, and it's so bold. But like, again, it's using his privilege that he has that, you know, as a young comic you don't necessarily have. Chris Rock is trying to do hour. He has nothing. He has no jokes. He might not even have any premises. Goes on stage and he might just have, you know, 12 topics he wants to talk about. So he said, I know a comic who says he's seen Chris Rock use at the cellar. This comic is past the cellar. He's seen him do it a bunch of times. Comes on the cellar. He's got a list and it says, first one on the page is divorce. Chris Rock will go on stage and he always does his preamble. He's like he always says lower your expectations. He always does this big thing like lower you come to see Chris Rock. I just dropped another show. You think you're gonna expect like this is not it's not what you expect. Everyone laughs and it's like, and then he goes through this process and he goes divorce. He'll go on stage and he'll say divorce. He'll just say words. You know, he'll say the theme, whatever, you know, the topic. Yeah. He'll just talk it out. Not funny. It might be a little bit funny here, a little bit, but like it's just more fun. And that
must be so cool to sit in on.
As a comic, absolutely. Yeah. As a comedy nerd, maybe. Yeah. As a fan, absolutely. You don't want to see that shit. You want to see Chris Rock be Chris Rock.
Yeah.
But you can't do that shit. You can do it at home to an extent, but you need the audience, and it accelerates. Like you can do all that shit at home, and then you go on stage, and it's not funny at all. So then you have to you sort of like extending the process. If you do it on stage, it might not be funny then, but at least you have proof in front of an audience that this is not funny. But you have little kernel here that's worthwhile, and you have.
Because you actually said it out loud, and you might have said something that someone might have, and you like, all right, bet. So I need to focus in on that.
Exactly. So anyway, he'll do that. And he'll just kind of talk. Like he says everything he thinks about this thing.
Yeah.
And then he'll listen back to it, and he'll just like, okay, this is all dog shit, but this is a good idea. And then the next time he goes on stage, he starts with that, and he builds. And again, this is all bullshit, but this is good. And then you same and you refine it.
Yeah.
And comedy takes so much more work than you think it does. Everything that takes more work than you think it does. Everything that's really great.
Yeah, all these things that look fun, like it's so much harder than you think it is.
And everything that looks great, everything that looks easy, like anyone who makes something that looks easy, you can't even imagine how much work went into that. You know, even if it is easy for them now, it's because of years of doing it the hard way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I do commentary for a wrestling company. And we just had a show July 1st, and like just watching these dudes like wrestle and like do all these flips and fucking kick each other in the mouth and just all these things, and I'm like, yo, this looks. I would never want to do this.
Yeah,
I don't know how the fuck, and they make it look, and then
it was like second nature for them.
They're having so much fun and all this stuff, and it's fucking crazy. And you see like, you know, good comedians go up there and just absolutely kill it, and then they're like, you know, doing all this stuff, and then they get off stage and that didn't go right.
And I've been like that for years. Like, in fact, I was so much like that sometimes where Dane would be like, "Yo, knock it the fuck off!" Like that was a good set.
Yeah, I got yelled like that.
But you have because
you get yelled at. I got yelled at like that.
Because you have this, and I think it's a good thing though. Like you have this. You have a standard in your head
of how you want to be,
how you wanted these jokes to go, and it's like, okay, this all got laughs, but this is my favorite part, or this is the part that I thought was going to be
the part that I really liked. No one fucking liked it. Why not?
Yeah, it's like you're going to get hung up on, or like, you had a great set, but this one guy wasn't like, why is he not laughing?
Yeah,
that's how your brain works.
I found myself getting very into my head, like after a set, especially like after a set where like people tell you that you did good, but like you messed up on one thing and you just keep harping on it.
Yeah.
Like, so like, as we start wrapping up here, because I feel like we could just talk the whole night. You got any? What do you got coming up comedy-wise? Anything coming up?
July 14th. That's next Friday. I don't know. It won't be next Friday when it's coming up. But New London at the Hygienic Green Show. Dan Kawai, Dane McKay. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Josh Mandel.
Okay, actually, this will come out the day before that show.
Perfect.
So put out just tasting. Where can people find you on the internet?
Twitter, Highbrow Shawn. Instagram, Lowbrow Shawn. I have a Substack called Feeling Fine. Subscribe to that.
Yeah, subscribe. I'm subscribed to it. That's a cool thing.
Yeah, I think it's sameoldshawn.substack.com.
Yeah.
I write about a bunch of stuff. I write about video games, movies, just like sort of just general essays about culture and shit. I think I'm doing some good stuff over there. Very proud of that.
Yeah, big fan.
But yeah, that's pretty much all I got going on. But so just kind of wrapping up the conversation about comedy.
Yeah.
So when I say about going on stage every time you want to get better, I remember there's a lot of comics, especially young comics, do this thing where like, I got up 12 times this week. I did 18 shows this month. It's like, and you're doing the exact same set that you were doing on June 1st that you're doing on August 1st.
Yeah.
Or July 1st that you're doing on August 1st.
Yeah.
That's not, you'd be better off not getting on stage at all.
Yeah.
You would have accomplished just as much because you're not pushing yourself, you're doing the exact same set.
Yeah.
You got to go on stage. Well, this joke worked, but I'm gonna try a whole new punchline today. You know what I mean? Or I'm gonna try a new tag. Or I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna go on stage and intentionally say I'm gonna do an act out on every single one of these jokes. And oftentimes, if you do that, it'll fall flat. It'll feel unnatural. It'll feel like, damn, that shit sucks.
Yeah.
I did not like how that felt, but it makes you better. And all the best comics, they have all the truly great comics. Aside from a handful of exceptions, they have every fucking trick in their bag and you don't even notice it. Bill Burr is one of the best comics in the world. You think of Bill Burr, you think of, sort of great joke writer, big loud guy, and mean-spirited somewhat.
Yeah.
But do you think of Bill Burr as like a physical comic?
No.
Absolutely not. Maybe my favorite joke in the history of the world is Bill Burr's helicopter bit on his special, I'm Sorry You Feel This Way. Tells a story about this guy who inherits a helicopter tour company from his dad, who just retired. His first day he takes the helicopter up in the sky, a guy jumps out of his helicopter to kill himself. And Bill Burr tells the story twice. The joke is he tells the exact same story 2 times in a row. One's from the perspective of the helicopter pilot, one's from the perspective of the guy jumping out of the plane.
Yeah.
It is an incredibly funny bit on its own. But additionally, he has this amazing act out that he does as first time he's the pilot, and he does this joke where he's like as you look out your window to the left, he's like, "Sir, put your seatbelt back on," and you can hear like the guy, he's like, so then he moves the mic away from his face, and he's like, you can hear him, he's arguing, like he's talking to, he's wrestling with the guy, but Bill Burr is great at like moving the mic, so like now you are in the helicopter with him, and your mind, it's like you hear the distance, so he's not in the front seat anymore.
Yep.
And then he's struggling, he's trying to hold the guy into a very physical bit, and then he does the opposite side. It's like, he's like in the background, you can hear the guy. You hear, as you look at the left window. That's now the mic is far away to start. Yeah. He's undoing his seatbelt. The guy's trying to hold him. He died. It's so physical. It's so fucking well done. But you do not think of Bill Burr as an act out comic. You don't. But like that makes that joke. If he just tells that joke on its own right, it's a very funny bit. He tells it. The act out takes it to an entirely new fucking level, and that's something I've watched Bill Burr get better at this shit over his career. Because also Bill Burr doesn't seem like a guy who would he seems too obviously he's a comedian, but he seems like too serious to be a guy who does acting. You would think that Bill Burr thinks that's like beneath him or silly. You know what I mean? It's like he's actually a very silly guy. He's actually a very because recognize this joke just got that much better because I just did the act of fucking putting on a seatbelt. You know what I mean? Or like
pulling the mic
because it makes it's like it intensifies, like it's a visceral experience now. It's not just you're not just hearing it in your ears. Like I'm on stage, I'm a performer. Like why would I just stand in one spot and just tell jokes? Unless that's the point, Stephen Wright or something like that's different. Yeah. But like it makes it so much better. And like John Mulaney, my favorite comic working, he's also a guy very physical comic. You think of John Mulaney as a pure joke writer, just rapid fire, sort of straight laced. Very physical comic now, you know what I mean? But that's something you develop.
I was expecting him to have an English accent.
Yeah, he does seem like
every time I look at him, but then he doesn't. I'm like,
But you know, that's something you develop over time. You don't.
Yeah.
You have to be able. Like, I'm sure there's a bunch of times he got on stage when he was working on. You know, either one of them when they were working on shit. And like, you know, it's not there yet. You know, it's not. You're not confident in it. It doesn't feel natural. But like, you have to be willing to try that shit. And I feel like when you get on stage, that's one thing I try to do. When I get on stage, I'm like, you know what? I have new tags for all these jokes. I'm gonna try all the tags.
Yep.
If they don't work, whatever. I'm gonna try to do. I'm gonna be so much more energetic than I usually am. I'm gonna pace the stage. I'm gonna try to not to look down. Every time I take the stage, I'm trying to. There's something I'm trying to get out of this. So when I go and when I try to record every single set, if not visually, then just audio.
Yeah.
As soon as I get in my car on the way home, I'm listening to that set and I'm like, okay, that didn't work.
Yep.
I like that. That's fun. Oh, I kind of riffed that. I like, you know what I mean? That was very funny. I gotta remember to write that down. And when I'm on my way to a show, I do the same thing. I'm like, okay, if I have a new joke I'm not gonna just go on stage. There's a new joke I wrote and now it's written. You know what I mean? It's good, but like I haven't done it much.
Yeah.
It is like I just wrote the newest version. I'm not gonna go on stage and just wing it and say like, you know what? I used to do that sometimes. I'm like, you know, I have a general idea what this joke is.
Yeah.
And then I'll get on stage like, oh fuck, I missed this part. I'm very intentional. But when I go on stage, I was in my car on the way to the show. I listened to the whole set, the most recent set I did, and like, or I'll dictate into my, you know, as I'm driving, I'll just like just recite the joke over and over until I get it right. So I'm just perfecting the joke on the way to the show. So by the time I get to the show, second nature. I know the joke inside and out, and I've also sort of revised it and tightened it up and polished it on the way to the show. So by the time I'm ready to tell, it's a much better version of the joke than it was even 20 minutes before, an hour before.
Yeah.
And that's the shit that I think is valuable as a comic, and you don't get that advice as a young comic. You know, everyone says get up as much as possible, and that is very important. But you have to, if you get on stage and you're not doing anything, you're not.
Yeah,
there's
you gotta
no
keep
value
trying,
to that.
keep doing new things, keep evolving, keep changing. Sean, thank you so much for coming.
Dude, this was great. I
appreciate
could do this every day.
I'm gonna have to bring you on for a part 2 because we went for almost over 2 hours, and we even talked like comics and video games and stuff. So.
I was thinking about that. Like I was like, that's why I said you talking about Eminem. I did not intend to talk about Eminem, but there's so much shit that I would love to talk to you about.
The fans are gonna love it, but we're gonna have you come back. We're gonna do a part 2. We're gonna talk video games.
I loved it.
Thank you so much, bro.
Of course.
I appreciate you.
Appreciate you. This was awesome.
All right, check him out July 14th. We'll put the ticket link in the bio.
Yes, indeed.
Follow him on Twitter and Instagram. Listen to the podcast. Nobody Asked Shawn. Thank you so much, bro.